Netflix shares are tanking after Elon Musk called for a boycott of the platform. A writer for a show that was promoting transgender ideology to children has mocked Charlie Kirk and the assassination. This has resulted in many people spam blasting Twitter saying, cancel your Netflix, showing all the programs that Netflix has that push gender ideology. And I'm just sitting here being like, y'all still have Netflix? I canceled that after the cuties thing. But now apparently they've dropped down a couple of percentage points. It's even made it to CNBC. We have other news. It's kind of funny. It's not as serious, but Bad Bunny got, I guess, chosen for the Super Bowl halftime show, and conservatives are questioning this choice because the dude doesn't even sing in English. Well, he claimed he will not do shows in the USA because he's scared of ICE showing up. And now we are learning the Trump admin plans to send ICE to the Super Bowl halftime show. There's speculation that maybe he will cancel and not do it out of this fear, but we'll see. And then there is some serious news. France has boarded a Russian vessel, believing that they were launching drones that was interfering with flights over Europe. We don't know necessarily if this is going to be an escalation, but with Article 4 of NATO being called as often as it has in recent history, or in the past few weeks, with Russia's movements in Europe and violation of airspace, there's a lot of concern that this could lead to an escalation. And then there's some good news, though. It looks like the Republicans have a shot at taking the governor's race in New Jersey. So we'll talk about that and so much more. Before we get started, we got great sponsors. We got Beam Dream, my friends. Head over to shopbeam.com/Timpool and pick up your Beam Dream. It helps you sleep. They got this delicious hot cocoa, 15 calories, no added sugar. Mix it with some hot water, drink it right before bed. You will sleep better. It's got melatonin, magnesium, L-theanine. I did not even know that my sleep could have improved. So my sleep score with my mattress, it tracks with 85 to 90 every day. And I started drinking this every night. Starts hitting 95 to 100. No joke. I am a huge fan of this. I drink it every night before bed. So go to shopbeam.com/Timpool. Check it out. But we got another great sponsor, a new sponsor. Yo, it's Perplexity AI's Comet browser. This is really interesting. Check this out. Let me ask you guys something. How much time do you spend every day on a web browser? How much time do you spend clicking around online, searching, scrolling, typing, endless tabs? It's a lot, right? Well, there's a new AI web browser from Perplexity called Comet that is completely changing the way you're able to interact with your browser. Comet feels like having a personal assistant living in your web browser that can actually do things for you across the internet, literally do things, not just give answers. You can ask Comet to handle tasks for you, and it literally clicks, types, searches, and scrolls just like you would to get things done for you. That's crazy. In the background while you go about your day. Go to perplexity.ai/Comet. Comet can navigate around the web like a human would, clicking, typing, searching, scrolling, getting what you need done so you can do more. Some of the things it can do, it can order food from like DoorDash or Domino's. It can book personalized restaurant reservations. It can buy stuff on Amazon. Wow, movie tickets, book flights, prep you for your day, send messages and emails, schedule things, search, respond, and analyze. It can pull up videos, tabs, or other searches you're looking for. That's crazy. Download Perplexity's new AI web browser Comet by heading to pplx.ai/Timcast and let your browser do the work for you. Plus, right now, when you download Comet, you get a month of Rumble Premium for free. Yo, check this out. And we're going to have that uncensored members-only show up at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Not tonight, but we do that Monday through Thursday every other week. Not here while we're in Phoenix because of logistical reasons, but it is a bit tough. Smash that like button, my friends. Share the show with everyone you know. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is President Donald Trump.
Well, Tim, it's great to be with you. I've been a fan for a long time. I haven't been able to come on because I've been making America and really the world, if you look at it, great again, right? Saving us all from the N-word, right? Which, of course, is nuclear. You know that better than anyone. But it's great to be with you, right?
Who are you really?
Who am I really?
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to break character already? The guy who booked me said, I want you
introduce
as Trump. Oh, I'm Jason Scoop. Follow me. Great to be here.
I think everybody gets to who you are. You're a Donald Trump impersonator.
That's right. Comedian, impersonator. I do all the impressions.
Well, keep in mind, Tim, if people are listening, they may not realize.
We
could have fooled them.
Yeah, exactly. We could have done the whole episode that way. Cut this out. Cut it in post.
People are going to be sending messages. Did you actually have Trump on last night?
Oh my gosh. Wait.
Yeah, I do a bunch of impersonations, but Trump has certainly been the most, I would say, lucrative and the one that's really, put me on the map the most.
What's the main tactic you do to get it?
Oh boy, I would just say practice makes perfect.
I do it so much. You know, I'm on Cameo, so I'll do how many ever cameos a day, and so really, I just get better by accident.
I think you're starting to sound like Trump naturally.
I think so
because you're getting too into it, and it's like you're forgetting how to be yourself.
Where are you from in the world?
I grew up in Long Island in Levittown.
See, there you go. It's always people who are like from the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can do it the best.
So this is going to be fun. I'm sure it'll be funny. But we got Jack's back.
Jack Posobiec, I have not left. I'm still here. Just again, really appreciate everyone coming in. Ian, didn't even realize you were here. Did the show yesterday, but
Great pleasure.
Great to have you here, brother.
You too, man. I've been thinking about you almost every day.
Thank you.
brother. Literally a lot, man. I love you, man. So
I appreciate
I'm looking
it.
forward
Back
to
at
working
you,
with
man.
you
Of
and
course.
do stuff.
Back at you.
And I'm Ian Crossland.
And Luke, of course, won't leave.
Was
We
I asked
tried.
to leave?
It didn't work out.
Even if I was, I'm not leaving. The Russian tanker news is pretty crazy. The U.S. just announced that they're going to be providing Ukraine intel for long-range missile strikes inside of Russia, so that's also happening, which is kind of troubling. But anyway, Luke Rudowski, youtube.com/wearechange. Jason is a great follow. Awesome to have all you guys here. And Ian, good to see you too, man.
You
It's been
too,
a while.
Luke.
Yeah.
I love you too, man. And
Let's
you,
get-
Jason,
You're
even though
okay.
we just met.
You're fine.
Tim, I love you the most. I'm
Okay.
just kidding, man. I don't.
You're just
play
kidding?
favorites. No, I love you all.
Thanks, bro.
Agape.
All right, let's get to the story. We have this from CNBC. Fast money. Traders talk Netflix shares dropping after Elon Musk tells people to cancel. Now, with all due respect, it wasn't Elon who started the charge. I don't believe. Many people were calling for the boycott of Netflix because there's a writer on a show, a children's show that's promoting trans ideology to kids, and this writer had disparaged Charlie Kirk. Let's play this from CNBC, if we can.
Welcome back to Fast Money. Netflix shares falling over 2% today after Elon Musk urged his followers on X to cancel their subscriptions. Musk taking issue with the presence of a transgender character on one of the streaming platform shows. He posted, "Cancel Netflix for the health of your kids," this morning. Our Steve Kovac has more on all of this drama. Steve?
Oh boy, here we go. Look at the power of an Elon Musk tweet, Mel, because the targeted rage of that tweet and of his fans and followers, they sent Netflix shares down 2% today after Musk spent part of his day tweeting about that Netflix show called Dead End Paranormal Park, which features a transgender character. It's an animated show, by the way. Now, I think you guys can see where this is going. Musk called on his followers to cancel Netflix and said he already did so himself. He also criticized Netflix's DEI policies and pointed to it as another reason to cancel the service. There's also...
Well, I just want to add, as you know, Elon Musk tweets this, I'm like, y'all still had Netflix? So I canceled it a long time ago. Remember when the cuties things happened?
Yeah.
I was
that
just
was
like,
a-
wow, this is messed up.
I've actually never.
And
had
they called
ever.
the advertisement like a mistake. They were like, oh yeah, it was an error that this banner went out. And then all these liberals were like, cuties was fine. It was the post that went out for it was just a mistake. And everyone was like, bro, the whole movie was children in adult themed content. That's disgusting and wrong. It was very strange that, you know, liberals gargling Tylenol is one thing, but defending Netflix over this content was nuts.
Yeah, at minimum, it was predator bait, and it was extremely disturbing. I'm going to take a bold move today, and I'm going to announce that I'm going to cancel the Netflix account of my friend who I'm stealing that from right now.
That you were stealing Netflix from them.
Sorry.
Well, we have a couple of clips.
Authoritarian of you.
I want to show you guys this one clip from one of their shows to give you an example of what they're talking about. This is actually an old clip. This resulted in another canceling, but this is a children's show. I believe, I could be wrong about it, an interracial gay couple who adopted a child, a little boy they want to be trans.
Thing that we know about you, you love to get up and dance. How about you break out those moves for your two biggest fans? If you're not sure what to choose, think about all the things you like to do. Just be you.
Just be me?
Yep. When you're trying to decide, think about all the things you like to do. Just be you.
Just be me.
Yeah, see, I'm of the mind that we need to tell kids what to do, and it's a weird reality. This I guess is another divergence between left and right. I think you get your kid. Hey, you're playing piano. You're going to piano tutor, and they're going to teach you how to play piano, and the kid's like, I don't want to play. You're playing piano. Like, you need to give your children discipline and make them do things that will be good for them in the future. What the liberals have prescribed with these Netflix shows, what Elon Musk is pointing out, is they're saying, you're a blank slate, figure it out yourself.
I think you need at least parameters, because if you took a kid and put them in a muddy pit with a bunch of worms, and you're like, you can do whatever you want, the kid's going to start eating worms, and that's going to be his life, because that's
Just
all
be
there
you.
is available.
Well, so have we haven't actually played the show that Elon's talking about, though, right? These
no, yeah,
different shows.
let me search for that one.
Yeah, because I want to put that one up. But no, you're both right. I mean, Tim, you and I were saying earlier on my show, it's like, what if what if a kid came up and said, well, I like to eat pennies. And I really want to eat pennies, which, by the way, kids will absolutely eat just anything that you leave out. And
Play-Doh.
Tim, you're
you eat
Tim.
out.
By the way, you are getting to that point. You're not there yet.
Oh, no, we're there.
Are you there? Oh, you're there.
Yeah,
you are
'cause
there.
The
It happens.
pacifier that we have has one of those clips, so it
Yeah.
doesn't fall on the ground.
Uh-huh.
And she flipped it around and started putting the clip in it.
Yep.
And
Okay, so you can see what's coming.
you can learn so
Yeah.
much from things by chewing on them.
Which,
Bro.
by the way, so you can tell by the way the age of someone's kids if they have in their house by so when your kids are little, then like all the stuff goes on the counters, but then eventually as they get bigger, then stuff has to go into the cabinets, and then eventually you just have to stick stuff on your ceiling because when they're teenagers because they can't reach it otherwise. No,
what was the name of that show? They mentioned
Dead.
it. Oh, here it is. Here's the clip. Let's play the clip.
Dead End.
It's not the park. It's me. I'm trans, Norma. School knows, and everyone at home knows. And being here, it's like a whole new place. I can just be Barney, and I can choose if and when I tell people. I've never been happier, and that's saying something when I spent today chased by terrifying zombie mascots. Pugsley reminded me how important it is to live your life without apology. So, I think I gotta give living here a shot, don't you?
You don't need my permission. I just wouldn't want Courtney as a roommate. We'll be the best of friends.
So here's
the part.
this show and the other show. This one's targeting kids 7+. The other show is targeting like 4 or 5-year-olds. What? There's another show that's going viral from Netflix about dinosaurs, and there's like a teenage lesbian romance in it abruptly and for no reason. What's creepy about this is that parents think they're turning on.
That one is associated with an extremely famous franchise.
Was it Jurassic
Park.
Well, so here's what happens. Parents go on Netflix and they see a show and it's like, for your kids, dinosaurs. And they go, hey, dinosaurs.
Jurassic Park.
And then basically,
Like, of course.
you know what they're doing? This is like a Family Guy joke where it's literally a Family Guy joke where Lois buys some like therapy video for Peter. And she's like, we're going to teach you how to be a better husband. Is your wife gone? Okay, let's do this. And starts pulling her clothes off. This is what they're doing to kids. They're saying, let's learn about dinosaurs. Are your parents gone? Okay, let's show the lesbian sex scene. And it's like the parents leave their kids watching this and not realizing what Netflix is injecting into this.
And watching this made me think back about how susceptible I was as a kid. I mean, you remember being like 5 or 6. You know what I mean? You have what your parents teach you, but then you go to school, some kid says something, the cool kid, and then you like adopt that ideology because he's the cool or she's the cool kid. So yeah, I mean, I think this is this actually has a real life impact on children.
And you're like in your house, so there's that level of comfort where you're just writing all the data.
100%.
I want to pull up because I believe there's another piece of this, and I want to get the actual quotes because the creator of this show, in addition to this, also had been, and I can see people talking about it.
Hamish Steele, I believe.
Hamish Steele was celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk on his Blue Sky account and saying, I want to get the actual, I don't know if we can say all of it, but, something along the lines of like he was a Nazi and he did, that's it. You have it there. And it's disgusting and it's sick. And you look at these horrible people, these absolute scum, and the things that they'll say after a man is brutally murdered. And so they'll turn around and they'll say, oh, we need to be loving. And you listen to the words, the phraseology of the character in his show, the trans character. We have to be loving. We have to be accepting. We have to be caring. And it's like, even what about Charlie Kirk? He called Charlie Kirk a random Nazi.
And not just that, but why are they so vile? I mean, like, we understand the...
But you know what I mean? The dichotomy of, we need to be loving, you need to be accepting. Except about those random Nazis like Charlie Kirk.
But that's what I'm saying.
Why would you even care?
These people just go online and they just rage. They're just angry all the time, screaming at the top of their lungs. And it's like, bro, chill out.
And this guy, by all extents, I mean, he's got a show on Netflix. He's obviously quite successful to be able to do that. You know, it doesn't look like a particularly interesting show. The writing is pretty awful. The animation looked really cheesy.
Netflix sucks.
Like, right. But you'd think though that if he's this full of rage and full of nihilism and full of resentment, that, you know, at least by being successful enough to have a show on Netflix, you'd perhaps think that the world has turned out for you. No, I understand what's going on, but I'm saying that a normal person would respond like, "Wow, I've got a show on Netflix. That's awesome. This is so cool.
Let's try and sell the show to everyone.
Let's talk about let's talk about how great the show is, and I want everyone to watch it."
And he's in the Hollywood bubble where everyone there thinks alike.
And he knows he's not going to face any repercussions for it.
100%.
I don't think they think anything.
now.
I think they think, I'll just say what everyone else says. It's very much like putting the blank black profile picture up when George Floyd died. They don't know what's going on. Someone just told them to do it, so they did. And
they've got someone in their ear.
Right.
They've got someone in their ear who's like, "Oh, this is a good thing. This is a good move. You should do this."
Yeah, people need to understand Netflix is far more of a nefarious organization than a lot of people believe. It was co-founded by the
100%.
great nephew of Edward Bernays and Sigmund Freud.
Really?
Yes. And it is the propaganda machine of the establishment. It uses subliminal messaging in order to propagandize people in such horrible, horrendous ways. Every time there's a bad black guy, they make him a white guy. Every time there's a white good guy, they make him a black guy.
Well,
Bernays
himself is the founder of modern propaganda.
Exactly.
But I'm going to push back a little bit. I blame conservatives a lot, and hear me out. We were just talking before the show. I love playing these songs like Chop Suey by System of a Down because Serge is literally singing the words of Jesus Christ.
And he's Christian.
Yeah. And then you also have Like a Stone. Which,
They're Armenian.
Yeah. And my point is, there are a lot of songs that conservatives don't realize that in the mainstream were very much pro-Christian, and they're not familiar with these songs or otherwise. There was a show on Netflix called The Order, and it was a werewolf vampire show or something. I haven't seen it in a long time. They had 2 seasons, and it was about communist professors being evil villains and were the bad guys.
Really?
Yeah, legit. Watch the show. And I was shocked. Wow. In season 2, there is a communist professor, literally with like a communist books on his bookshelf, and I forget what it was, but he's the villain who's trying to usurp the power of these like mystical, college students or whatever. They canceled the show because nobody watched it. And I thought the show was fun. I was like, look at this. They finally have a villain who's a Marxist college professor. The problem is, like with, I reference Captain America, the first Avenger movie all the time. I'm like, guys, you had a movie that was about a scrawny young man who was so desperate to join the military, he lied 7 times to get in, and he fights for America. And
his name is literally Captain America.
Captain America. I'm like, shouldn't conservatives have been like, this is the greatest? And he's a Christian too. In the MCU, he literally makes a reference to this. He says, there's only one God, ma'am, in the Avengers movie. Why weren't conservatives lifting that up? Instead, I think they took for granted what was, because so much of our culture was just an overtly Christian theme, that when it fell off, they got mad about it, complained about content they didn't like, but never propped up the content they did.
There was like a backlash in the 80s against Christianity because there was this overcompensation, from my perspective, being born in 79, where they were like trying to ban Dungeons and Dragons and get the F word taken out of music. So people kind of revolted against it. And I think that was lingering to the point where people were so distanced from it. But one of the things I love about Catholicism, and I'm not a Catholic personally, but you are practicing Catholic, Jack, and I want to ask you more about this, is like, they would force people to repeat the 7 virtues, maybe daily, if not weekly. And so they're always remembering these 7 important ways to be. And then now that we have a free speech society without compelled speech, we don't force anyone to say anything. And
well, I wouldn't necessarily say forced, but it's more along the line. So this is the big issue between like Protestants and Catholics, where Catholics famously, of course, we have our rosary, right? Here it is. And they'll say, oh, those are vain repetitions. So a Protestant will say, well, that's a vain repetition, and you should just pray from the heart, pray directly to Jesus. And what we would say is, well, wait a minute, these are the words of the Bible. These are words directly from the Bible, and by saying them over and over, we believe the prayers are sacred as well, so that when you say them in tune, you're giving that to God. And so it's more like, but a Protestant would come in and say, oh, well, that's just a repetition, but it's not vain, and that's the key difference. It's not vain at all.
Do you ever?
We're gonna jump to the story from Variety. ICE agents will be at Super Bowl for Bad Bunny's halftime show. It's so shameful they picked someone who seems to hate America. Now, this is why it's funny. Conservatives got really angry that Bad Bunny was going to be performing the halftime show. He doesn't even speak in English. He's leftist. He's got videos of him in drag and other things like that. And he's even stated he won't do U.S. tours because he's fearful ICE will show up at his events. So now they've announced they will be at his event. The question is he going to panic and cancel out of fear that they might actually do something?
Well, by the way, doesn't ICE always come to Super Bowls in general? Because there's always huge issues with like human trafficking and prostitution and,
There's law enforcement in general.
And all of this. And right, as just you are going to need extra law enforcement and Homeland Security because the Super Bowl is, of course, a tier 1 event. From a security perspective, we obviously just held a tier 1 event here. That's why it's fresh on my mind, up in Phoenix, which we were told had higher security than the Super Bowl because the president being there and all the Secret Service. Even though the president, I know he attended last year at the Super Bowl, so he may attend again. Hopefully, when my Eagles are there, and it's just very common to see extra agencies augment in cases like this. I hope they go. I mean, they should deport him too.
They're definitely going to be there because it's not hard to be there. Law enforcement is going to be there. They do security for these events, especially the Super Bowl. I'm assuming Trump will be there as well, and I don't know why he wouldn't go. I mean, well, actually, he was like the first president in a long time who went, right?
The first sitting, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great game, great game.
How was it, Mr. President? Did you like it?
It was fantastic, right?
Indeed. Are you going to deport Bad Bunny, sir?
Well, now I'm now I'm going back to myself. Well, we're looking into him. We're looking into him very strongly, but I'll be Jason again. Didn't somebody say he doesn't even sing songs in English?
Yeah,
he does not.
Yeah,
no.
he doesn't.
But he's Puerto Rican? Is that what it is?
I'll take the wig off.
Oh, hey. Your hair is
it is
equally as
blonde
awesome.
anyway. I dyed it blonde anyway.
So does Bad Bunny, guys, is he Puerto Rican?
Yes, he is.
He's okay, he's a citizen.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so if he's not doing shows in the U.S., where is he doing shows?
Latin America mainly. So his fan base is, so the whole goal here is a marketing strategy. And so Jay-Z controls the Super Bowl selection, halftime show selection process through his company Rock Nation. Jay-Z, of course, being best friends with Barack Obama. We were just talking about Netflix and the propaganda there. And obviously Netflix has signed huge deals with the Obama family to be producers on all this random stuff and predictive programming. So Jay-Z being good friends with him. So you just saw Bad Bunny where he was inserted into the Netflix sequel of Happy Gilmore 2. Yeah. And suddenly this guy that, the English-speaking world just is not familiar with is suddenly Adam Sandler's caddy. And the goal is, and it's meant to be this sort of culture jamming, and it's very corporate and very obvious, where they're saying, hey, white people like Adam Sandler and Hispanics love Bad Bunny, we're going to put them together. And they're doing the exact same thing with the Super Bowl. He was the caddy.
I didn't even know or care.
I'm pretty sure he was the caddy. Yeah.
I didn't even recognize the guy. I didn't realize he was in that movie.
I could double.
I just thought he was an extra.
No, because that's how I heard his name before. Because I remember watching it and looking, like, who is this guy? Like, he's this huge role, and I'm like, Bad Bunny. Like, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, the guy earned his spot. I mean, he did the humiliation rituals. He dressed up in the dresses, high heels. He deserves to be.
The satanic dresses.
We deserve a demonic Illuminati drag show. Okay, we need one. It's necessary. I mean, bring it back, please, for the conspiracy theories. I'm going to make so many videos about this. Please make it as demonic.
I know. In all
bring out
seriousness,
Baphomet, like child sacrifices. Let's do it.
Since Trump got back, Luke, you've been starving for content.
Yes, I know. Well, no, not really. The Epstein stuff has kept me pretty busy. So.
And did anyone like that movie? I thought it was horrible. Happy Gilmore 2.
I thought it had some good moments. I'm not gonna crap on it. It had some moments, but it was in general pretty bad.
Yeah. It was not good. It was. Hey, look at me. Look at Happy Gilmore. Remember Happy Gilmore, guys? And they kept doing flashbacks in the movie. I was just like, okay, we get it. I've seen.
Did they just do clips from the first movie?
Yeah, they did. Over and over again. Yeah, that's what it was.
I haven't watched it. It was on Netflix. I didn't steal my friend's account. Yeah,
this is a big question though. I mean, we've seen with Netflix, with Disney and Jimmy Kimmel, with Bad Bunny. Look, we've got tremendous victories in the culture war, but they're still holding on. Woke still has its presence in these industries. What do we have to do to rout wokeness and get it to finally back off.
make sure that we don't become
Yeah,
a
he's the
communist technocracy. Because if our government falls into
That's the greater
communism,
question. Yes, I understand.
otherwise it's just going to happen. We're just going to
The
resist.
question
it.
is, how do we
like
do that?
just be yourself. Keep doing this.
Just be you.
Tim,
It's already-
it's very clear to me what must be done here is that Turning Point USA needs to host a counter-programmed halftime show starring the only sincere band that has kept going with a fully Christian theme, as you say,
Celine Dion.
from day one. No, American band, American. Get that Canadian nonsense out of here, Luke. I'm talking about Creed. I'm talking about Scott Stapp. I'm talking about taking this entire country higher to a place with golden streets.
Where blind men see.
You guys talk about
Blind
that.
men see.
I think on your show today, on Charlie's show, when you guys were
So Tim, in all seriousness, that clip has gone mega viral.
Did you tweet it?
I did
It's a
tweet
good
it. Andrew tweeted it out as the official spokesman of Turning Point. And now the media, there has been a frenzy of media requests as well as sponsors and donors and all sorts of people and other artists, Christian artists.
It's got 1.6 million.
Yeah, 1.6 million views. And no, I had no authorization whatsoever to start talking about
It's got to
this.
happen, man.
And now
but-
it's
I think
Do
Turning
you,
Point's
do you
the
do
place
it
for concerts.
Do you do it
It's-
at the same time as the official halftime show?
yes. Same time as the official show, yes.
So we could watch football and then change the channel, watch Creed.
Well,
and then change
we
back.
do a live stream or maybe do a partnership with one of the channels that I'm
Talk
not
to Sinclair, maybe.
I am not saying that there have been conversations about this earlier today in this building, but it seems to have taken on a life of its own.
I would
and
pay
we'll see.
money to see that.
Dude, the last 2 years we came to Turning Point for Amfest, I've wanted to play that stage. It's destined for music.
Isn't it a great
And
stage?
that's all that anybody wanted is to see Ian open for Creed.
We got songs that we are partially rehearsed.
Jack
Like
just wins.
Carter. Dude, some of that, the audience is hungry for that energy. It deserves it. Politics is a little dry sometimes.
So-
it's
That's
good to
right.
get
Ian
loose.
needs to play with
No,
Creed.
but do you know?
Get
But do you know why?
energized.
Do you know why Creed is the only band from that era that has resurged the way that they have and it's because of sincerity. Because we've moved past postmodernism. So postmodern music was all this it was super ironic and just very biting and very sarcastic. But I believe we've actually moved past postmodernism into metamodernism.
I think Jack's friends with Scott Stapp.
And so no, I've never spoken with him.
How do you define metamodernism?
So metamodernism is modernity was this sort of I'm genuine, like Captain America. I love America, I love my country, blah blah blah. But then postmodernism comes in and it was well, did you know about 1619? What about slavery? What about this? What about that? And then metamodernism comes in and is you know what? I love my country, and I don't care what you say about that stuff. So it's like you're combining the sincerity with the irony, and sometimes you're even being ironically sincere. And you see this a lot with JD Vance memes or even the modern crop of Trump memes, where it's is this an anti-meme or a pro meme? It's a pro meme. But aren't you kind of laughing? Yes.
Sombrero.
Yeah. So we made a meme of JD Vance in a sombrero and a mustache today. You're are you mocking him? No, we love him.
Dude, Gavin Newsom is getting him elected.
But you get what I'm saying? It's meta-modernism.
Well, so what's happening is you got modernism, then postmodernism is the good guy's actually the bad guy, and then metamodernism is and I don't care.
Exactly.
He's still the good guy.
Yes. So you incorporate the irony into the genuine love for the thing you have. And so the key of this, and this is what Gen Z has been searching for, and this is why Gen Z, I don't know what you're gonna say, they're embracing Creed, but one thing in general I see with a lot of Gen Z, left and right, is they want sincerity.
Yeah.
They want actual, genuine sincerity. And it's even if you don't agree with Scott Stapp, if you're not Christian, that guy is sincere.
Well, I
that
think
guy 100% believes what he says.
With AI video getting crazier and crazier every single day, the new Sora 2 stuff that's coming out is nuts. There are a lot of young people growing up online where everyone's faking everything all the time.
Yep.
Right.
And
So
they're just
people want something real. So this
yeah.
is why, unfortunately, this is, and I've talked about this before, but on the right, that's why you're seeing this huge revival. You're seeing this huge turn towards even traditional Orthodox versions of Christianity. So, if I'm going Catholic, I want Latin Mass. I want the full thing, extraordinary form. Christianity, we're going to Orthodox. If I'm going evangelical, I want the most Bible-based church pastor that I can find. And unfortunately, on the left, that pushes you towards violence and the most extreme types of violence.
Yep.
And so this is why you would then, so what's the most extreme type of violence? Is it marching around and holding placards like millennials would? No, because that's like made for TV. So the technology is different now. So they don't want to do that. Smashing up a Starbucks, who cares? That's just a Starbucks. Unfortunately, these types of pressures and this type of social tendency and social condition will lead you towards murder and assassination.
Is that because metamodernism can go too far? Like, because like the Punisher, he is kind of a villain, but or like Dr. Doom's actually a lovable villain, but like isn't
Punisher's
it also
an anti-hero?
Yeah, it's important to know like they were still villainous.
Well, no, it's not. Anti-hero is a different thing. Anti-hero is a different thing. It's like you'd like Superman. But then, okay, but Superman also destroys the city, right? That's the postmodernist take on Superman. He destroys the city. And it's like, when this one comes in, like, I love Superman.
There's got to be a thread between the villain, the good guy's actually the bad guy, and then the next step of, I don't care, I'm still going to be him. Because if he's actually the bad guy, you don't want to, like, really become the bad guy, even if he's, like, a good guy, bad guy.
No, you don't. But it's also, it's seeing postmodernism face on and saying it's worth it.
And the people that are in the postmodernist brainwash don't realize that he was never actually a villain.
Yeah, postmodernism is so that midwits can be convinced to do evil.
Yes.
That's
so
just
like
pretty much it.
And I hate having, written about this and talked about this, and now, it's like now I find myself in this situation where like I'm like living part of it in a sense, like what happened to Charlie, because you talk about online culture, you talk about all of these extreme internet-based identities and things, and when you look at, I mean, this guy was, this kid was on the roof, was into like furry porn and was just LARPing and just super extreme behavior, but in the opposite direction.
We do have good news. I want to jump to this story from the AP. Democrats' wary support may be sliding among typically loyal voters in New Jersey's governor's race. This is big. It appears that Republicans are becoming competitive in New Jersey. Now check this out. We have this from Kalshi, and it does look like bad news at first. Kalshi tweets out, breaking, there's a 72% chance Democrats sweep and win all 4 key elections in November. The first thing I'll say, shout out to Kalshi for sponsoring this segment. But beyond that, the New York mayor election, well, of course, a Democrat's going to win that. I mean, it may be.
Yeah, but the question is, which Democrat?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, where it gets interesting is Virginia governor, 94% chance, we get it. Virginia House of Delegates, we get it. New Jersey governor winner, when they posted this, was 78%. Check this out. We pull it up right now, and it's now, it went back, it went back to 78? Okay, it popped back up. Briefly dipped down. But the trend line is what we're looking at. Republicans are actually making gains in the prediction market. And there's actually a big push now. I think Scott Presler was talking about this, going to New Jersey and making a big push because it's actually possible the Republican can win the governor race.
Yeah. So, and if you pull up, I don't know if Kalshi has a way to incorporate the most recent polls. That's, Kalshi, if you're listening, that would be a great data set for you. But there have been, I believe, 3 polls in a row now, separately taken, of New Jersey that have the Republican Jack Ciattarelli in with either tied or within the margin of error in New Jersey, which is typically considered a solid blue state. But I was doing a little digging on this, and I'm from the Philadelphia area, so I'm generally familiar with New Jersey. And I remember when Chris Christie won in 2009 as a Republican, that in the 2024 electoral race, New Jersey swung red, and swung red in almost every single county of the state. So the movement is there. The candidates are there. Her candidacy is awful. She's the Kamala Harris of New Jersey.
You see that stock video?
The stock
Charlemagne?
Wait, we gotta play that video.
Let me pull that one up.
And I'll just add this.
Keep talking. We'll find it.
So if you look at the actual mechanics of this race and the conditions on the ground, red jersey is possible. Red jersey is absolutely possible. And then you combine that with just this outpouring that's happened in the wake of Charlie's murder. I don't know.
Let's play this clip.
Possible.
This is
really
a Democrat.
So when Newsmax claims that you made $7 million from stock trades, what are they talking about?
Whoa.
Newsmax is, first of all, a very questionable organization that is paying multiple fines. I'm not sure what they're talking about.
Well, did you make $7 million in stock trades at all?
I haven't. I don't believe I did, but I'd have to go see what that was alluding to again, what kind of came from.
So when Newsmax claims that you made,
listen, there's two things I got to say.
Answer the question. Why can't she answer the question? By the way,
this is
when someone's lying, they don't answer the question.
But also, listen. Let's set politics aside. If you're not capable of handling the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Yeah, at least first thing is like, I don't know. I gotta look. If she really didn't know, she just said that right off the bat.
She knows.
No. This has been all over the media. Yeah. This is like when you're going. Okay, so as a guy who used to work on campaigns, right? You know what your candidate is going to be asked before you go up on a show, especially like the Breakfast Club, especially a show like that. So you would prep them if you have a good team. Like, this just shows how really bad of a candidate she is, that your team would be sitting around and saying, okay, we know this is out there, we know this is in the media, we know Charlemagne's probably going to bring this up, and here's what we're going to say. It's
an Aleppo moment.
Yeah, no, it's Aleppo.
Listen,
what is Aleppo?
Whether you're guilty or innocent, you need to be able to respond, and they're going to ask.
No. It's worse than Aleppo. It's worse than Aleppo because because this is a personal thing. This is a personal issue that she was involved in. It has been a huge issue, and I call it celeb on the left, by the way, from AOC, talking about the personal stock trading of congressional insiders.
I want to test Jason's mettle. Okay, I would like for you to impersonate Donald Trump being asked about Aleppo. But the context is you don't know what Aleppo is. How would Trump answer it?
Well, look, when you look at Aleppo, and a lot of people are talking about Aleppo, a lot of very smart people with big, beautiful brains, very respectable people, right? And I can tell you that I've looked into Aleppo, and it's a very interesting thing. Okay,
there you go.
But Mr. President, the question is, what would you do?
Excuse me. You're being very rude. You're being very rude. Nasty guy. And
say something about the beanie.
And then what he would do is he'd say, "We got to talk about jobs.
We need. You know what? Forget Aleppo. What about the Labubus? Have you heard about these dolls? A lot more interesting than Aleppo. Aleppo's a little boring if you want to know the truth. But yeah, you pivot. You got to pivot.
But Mr. President, there's so many people dying in Aleppo.
Yeah, look. Look, Jack, this is a nasty world. People are dying all over the place, if you want to know the truth.
This is the brilliance of Trump. He knows how to handle the media. If he's ever asked about something he doesn't know, he'll pivot to something he does. And that was really great. He said, "You're being a nasty guy."
Yeah.
He'd say,
or just completely change, like when
and he'll go, "Why won't you talk about immigration? This is what Americans want to talk about, not Aleppo."
Or at one of the debates, like 10 years ago, the guy was like, it was sort of a gotcha question, and he goes, "Well, somebody came on my show and said this," and he goes, "Well, first off, nobody watches your show," and then everybody laughed at the joke and totally forgot about the gotcha question.
When my Scott Adams gave this analysis of his famous Rosie O'Donnell answer, which I think really something that, just everybody remembers. He gets this question: "You've called women fat pigs, and you've called women this," and he goes,
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
And the crowd goes nuts.
And the crowd goes nuts because, think of it, before she finishes the question, he has assessed where she's going with this. He's signaled out not just on a target that everyone's going to think is funny, but and think of this. Who was he trying to do at the time? Burnish his credentials among a Republican primary audience because people were saying, "Oh, is he a Clinton plant? He's not really a conservative. What's this?" So he picked a target that he knew would ingratiate himself with his audience that they would love. And I mean, he did all of that in a fraction of a second.
What you need for this Mickey Sherrill thing is to play up these kinds of elitist gaffes.
She sounds terrible, by the way. Where's the charisma?
So there's the two issues here is she another crony just using DC to make herself rich? And she really looks guilty when asked this because she didn't even have an excuse prepared. So again, guilty on the stock thing, incapable of handling harsh political circumstances.
And her body language is terrible.
The body language is awful.
Well, Newsmax is questionable.
And by the way, I don't know if they asked her as well. So the other big, she has another big scandal as well, and this is the Navy cheating scandal. So in 1994 at the Navy Academy, there was this huge scandal of cheating, particularly on this one engineering course, which is known as. No, I'm a former Navy officer, but I was in academy. But it's so big that everybody knows about it. It's like every time you take a course in the Navy, you're like, we don't need another 94. It's like that and tailhook are the two things. And she and her husband were both involved in this thing, and they weren't able to prove like that she directly cheated, so they couldn't get her out, but they didn't let her walk at graduation
because she was involved. I forgot what it was, so I probably am getting this wrong, but it was something about she would not provide, like she knew who did.
Well, see, here's the thing though,
like
is her records are sealed and she won't release them. So I think that's a talking point. That she's like, oh, well, I just wouldn't let them, just wouldn't dime out my buddies. And it's like, okay, well then release the records, Mickey. Just release the records. If there's nothing to worry about, release the records.
There's one simple phenomenon that we can point to that just breaks down Democrats and Republicans. Bill Maher said he could not book prominent Democrats on his own show, and he votes for these people and supports them. But conservatives want to come on even though they disagree. When we try booking liberals, do you know what the first response we usually get is?
What?
How much?
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. And it's either they'll ignore us or they'll say, my fee is X. Do you know what conservatives say when we reach out to them? Doesn't matter. They reach out to us. They won't stop knocking on our door. They say, we want to come and we want to share these ideas, because the right is saying, we want to debate this and make the country better.
Sometimes we'll even host you in our buildings.
Literally. They're like, Tim, come to Arizona. I'm like, it's really hard. No, we'll figure it out for you. We'll get you here. And then Democrats are like, it's going to cost you this much. I'll only do it for this amount of time. And that, I really think, hits the nail on the head with the hammer with why people like this are running for office. It's a means to get rich and put a name in the history books, whereas the Republicans are like, I want to help my community.
I'm not super classist. I'm not a Marxist, but there's something about this elitist class of people that are mooching off the monetary supply by printing fiat, and it's sucked into the Democratic Party.
No, if you're a parasitic elitist, right, then that's not being, it's not communist to call that out and say you are not producing anything.
Right. I don't want to overthrow it. That's what Marx would have done.
If you actually have Elon Musk, he has elite talent. Like everyone, like by every definition of the word, he is an elite, right? But he's not like this.
Yeah. Also, Maher gave Obama $1 million. Obama never invited him to the White House.
Amazing.
Trump,
wow,
he bashed Trump for years. Trump said, "Come on over, let's talk."
That's right. Dinner.
There's this idea that like money is what's going to win you the game, the election, the everything.
Because that's what it's all about for them.
And that's what they have access to. Yeah. And in the Republican Party, it's about charisma and about like intelligence. Like you have to actually do something valuable to get, or at least get people's attention.
Joe Biden once mentioned that when he first was installed as president in I guess 2021, then he was doing this tour of the residents. He mentioned something in this one interview that has always struck me and stayed with me, because he said, "Oh, this is the first time I've seen the residents." I was like, "Wait a minute, weren't you the vice president for 8 years?" So for all of those 8 years, Barack Obama never once invited him to like the private areas of the White House where the family lives for like a cup of coffee or share a dinner or something. That's how bad it was inside the White House for those years. So remember the publicly it was the bromance, and they're like jogging together with their little friendship bracelets. It was all fake.
Dude, do you know that Obama quote, never underestimate Joe's ability to F shit up, whatever?
Yeah, no.
It's an actual
100% true. 100% true.
After a couple of months, he thought the lawn was the private residence.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, oh, bedroom. Come on, man. He's like peeing on the bush.
What? How did that guy? This is a whole other. How did Biden even get selected?
I mean, the auto pen. How did the auto pen get selected?
Yeah,
no, the auto pen got selected.
Yeah,
president because anyone can press go.
So
because they wanted someone,
I need a go button.
Because they wanted someone they could control.
That was it.
They wanted someone they could control.
Well, Joe always wanted to be president. And they were like, "You'll get your chance."
So Obama was a little too unknown. They didn't know if they could quite control Obama, so they plugged Joe in to make sure they could control Obama.
I mean, for a lot of reasons, I think 2020 was a fluke. I don't think they ever actually expected Joe to be president. I don't think that was ever part of the plan. I think that
I don't know about that.
I think it became the
universal
plan.
mail. Yeah, okay.
You know what I'm saying like else. In 2019,
right.
Nobody, prior
they
to
were hoping Buttigieg would stand out.
The COVID thing, prior to that operation getting launched, that everybody thought that because Trump was, if you go back to 2019, Trump was a shoo-in for re-election. He was extremely popular. The economy is going really well, and no real big Gavin Newsom didn't try to challenge him. By the way, unseating a sitting president is almost impossible in American politics. And Trump not only by the way, when he came back, he not only unseated a sitting president, but he also defeated the vice president too. So he won twice in the same year, which no one has ever done before. And remember, it was Barack Obama who pulled the plug on Joe Biden after the debate, saying, went around, called the donors and said, Joe, you're done.
Let's jump to the story from the Post-Millennial. FBI drops ADL partnership in split from Comey's playbook. That era is finished. This FBI formally rejects Comey's policies and any paid partnership with the ADL. Okay, first and foremost, Cash didn't know about this until Twitter I don't know that for sure, but people started tweeting, hey, look at this old tweet where the FBI has a partnership with the ADL. All of a sudden, Cash is like, no way, shut it down. I don't think Cash actually knew they were doing this.
This all started with Perry Abbasi. Got shout out to Perry Abbasi on Twitter, the great Pericles of Chicago, where he pulled up the fact that Turning Point USA, even in the wake of the insane political murder of Charlie Kirk, was still listed by the ADL as an extremist hate group.
Yep.
And then
real quick, did you know that almost every single number was considered racist? I am not exaggerating.
Oh yeah.
It was a meme where it's
in
like,
the old glossary.
Yeah, you'd go to the ADL glossary and you type in 1, it'd be like the number 1 is racist. Because
the number 1 is racist connotations.
The OK sign. You do the OK sign.
Yeah, no. But I understand that they try to shoehorn in weird symbols. But literally saying the numbers 1 through 90 are racist, you're just like, what?
Wait, wasn't 311 like 311 was the thing that always made me laugh because it's like
slamming his fist on the table.
Yeah, you're like so I like 311. Whoa, and
you're like I just like listening to this music, man. Why are you yelling?
And so
at me?
that started. But Perry Abbasi, what he did, looking that up, just started this ball rolling because he's just posting, right? Literally just posting, and then Elon hits it. And then it starts getting bigger, and then the ADL has to take down their glossary, which happened. We broke the news yesterday here on the show, and then today, boom, Cash goes, wait, there's a partnership with those numbskulls?
ADL was training FBI agents.
Yeah, but they also have a partnership with YouTube and PayPal. PayPal was deciding who was going to be debanked and who was going to have an account based on what the ADL was telling them to do, as they were literally just celebrating the deplatforming of Alex Jones. So this is a censorship type of organization that has bullied organizations and institutions and has clearly violated the First Amendment. There should be federal charges by the federal government against the ADL.
Now, if Cash is the head of the FBI and he just found out about this, how much is going on behind his back, on a regular basis, deep statey type stuff that the head
98% more probably.
Yeah.
I would imagine like they'd probably keep the FBI head on a leash. I mean, J. Edgar Hoover was like the guy that had compromat on everybody, and this current administration does not seem to be interested in gaining compromat on people, or if they do, they don't want to talk about it.
We need another J. Edgar Hoover.
That was like the Epstein thing. They were like hoovering people with Ghislaine Maxwell was playing Hoover for her daddy.
I'm getting real close to just re-uploading our episode with Joe Rogan and Alex Jones, because they claimed that, oh yeah, we're going to review these, but they're paying Trump $25 million YouTube, and they're claiming that they're going to uncensor all these things. And 3 years after we did the episode with Rogan, Luke, Alex Jones, Blair White, Drew Hernandez, Ian, I mean, it was a massive show. They took it down, citing some nebulous medical misinformation. It's still down today, even though they've already announced they'd be reversing this. And I've appealed it over and over and over again. I'm getting real close to being like, I'm just going to re-upload the whole thing. Just re-upload it straight up. There you go.
Is it on Rumble already?
It was our biggest show, right?
Yeah. Actually, it was at the time. Now, the episode we did with Darren Beatty is the biggest show we've ever done. I don't know why, Darren. I don't know why, but we did a show with him. It has like 10 or 11 million views.
He's got that Midas touch.
He does. Well, you know what I think it was something contextual at the time that we were talking about that was big, and he shared it with his network, and then it ended up taking off on Rumble.
What's the history of the ADL? Like, who funds it, who started it, and why? Do you guys know?
That's anti-Semitic, Ian.
Yeah, you can answer that
question. Is it off the top of your head? Was it an actual Israeli company, or was it?
Well, I don't know about that.
Is it like secret?
So it was American. It was started in the South over a disputed case involving an individual named Leo Frank, who they claim was lynched for anti-Semitic purposes.
But he was accused of hurting a 13-year-old child.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And And so the ADL was sort of born in a very similar vein to the SPLC, based in the South at that time. ADL was earlier, and as a way for purportedly for Jews and Jewish groups to be able to defend themselves both legally and in the public sphere.
Yeah, he was convicted by a jury of
Leo Frank.
Yeah, he was convicted by a jury of forcing himself and taking the life of a 13-year-old girl.
Oh my!
Yeah,
yikes!
Leo Frank.
It's called the Anti-Defamation League, but it's funny because liberals like to put anti in front of the things they do. So when they're like, I'm anti-racist, let's segregate races. You're like, what? They're like, I'm anti-fascist, let's brutally beat people who disagree with us. And then the ADL's like, we're anti-defamation, let's smear and defame tons of people.
I'm just thinking about that anti-communist. Where is he right now? You're not a communist,
I mean,
Phil,
by
are
this
you?
logic, he's basically saying he's a communist now.
I hope you're not.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. It's like, let's call ourselves anti whatever it is we do, and then people will be like,
we're anti-fascist. We're anti-defamation.
It's like a lazy sledgehammer, man. It does nothing.
Now, is it like an Al Sharpton type of operation where it's like, we'll go after Pepsi and call Pepsi racist unless you donate, $500K?
Yes.
Pepsi.
Okay,
Yes,
Pepsi
it very
is-
much became
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yes.
Pepsi is very racist unless they give Turning Point $1 million.
And we are changed $5,000.
So I was trying to pull up my old tweets about this, but the ADL at one point, and this was recently that this came up within the last couple of years, they had a definition of racism that was ripped straight from critical race theory, where they were basically saying that that race, the definition, if you looked up the definition of racism on the ADL's website, it said a system of privileges that benefit white people.
Well, I think
so. Basically, only white people could be racist.
There was some controversy because they had some definition of racism that was woke that also insulted Jews in some way or something. And
I'm trying to pull up because I remember that too. Yeah,
where people are like, "Hey, doesn't this apply to Israel and Jews?" And they deleted it real quick.
And then they had to do an interim definition of racism, which I just thought was so funny.
We don't know
it's an interim definition. It's like, you guys are supposed to be the experts on this. You're training the FBI. You're working with local law enforcement. You've been working with Homeland Security. So what they need to do is all of these groups, the ADL, the SPLC, whatever little acronym organization they come up with, they need to be shunned. They need to be ostracized. They need to be kicked out of society. It is groups like this that put Turning Point USA on their hate maps, put them on the list. This led to the smearing, censorship, canceling, ostracism, and by the way, they tried to use state power to take down this organization. The FBI placed this under investigation last year. We're still getting the receipts on that. And then ultimately, when all of that failed, somebody took a shot at Charlie Kirk and killed him. And it all has to go. It all has to go away. We have to stop this. We have to stop it now.
I think it's going to get worse. I'm kind of at my wit's end. I'm trying to be. Everyone's being very diplomatic. They are trying not to shock or offend. And I'm kind of like, let's remove that veil. I think it's fine to be professional and not antagonistic, but I'm done being overly diplomatic to protect the feelings of other people. I think it's important that we just say what we think about what people are doing. That being said, there are a lot of people that I think are ignoring the scope of this problem. There are a lot of prominent individuals that, to get specific, Dana White, we talked about this morning, where he said,
I went, actually, when you got off the show, I kind of went off in my last segment.
Right. I don't want to
get into it, but it's like, people just need to wake up. People just need to wake. And Joe Rogan saying he was shocked, and it's guys, it's very urgent.
Actually,
it's urgent.
Luke points something
out about
urgent
situation.
Yeah, well, he during the moment that it happened, he was interviewing Charlie Sheen, and during that moment, he even said himself, like, people are probably going to celebrate this. So he knew.
What is the now saying? I'm shocked that this is happening, and
he was bigger than he thought. I guess I don't know.
I will cut him some slack in that. I think it's fair. I said I was surprised to see people I knew for decades. I'm not surprised by nurses and teachers doing these things because these teachers have been giving kids smut and defending it, like weird books I can't even say on this show because I try to be family friendly. That's how disgusting it is.
Well, the teachers' colleges and teachers' colleges are particularly Marxist. All colleges at this point are Marxist, except for the ones that are explicitly anti-Marxist. But the teachers' colleges are explicitly Marxist. They are basically like Marxist madrasas, and they're creating these domestic terrorist instructors and then sending them out into the world.
We talked a little bit about this on Charlie's show earlier. I think it's going to get worse because throwing it out credit to Will Chamberlain. This point is very important. I told him I won't call for these people to be fired, but I won't defend them. And he said, "You're nicer than me. I think they should be fired." A society that tolerates the veneration of assassination is a society that has opened the door to civil war. These people should not be welcome in polite society. I'm paraphrasing for the most part, but I said, you know what? You're right. If we continue to allow people on social media and in the workplace or wherever they are to celebrate assassinations, justify the assassinations, we are going to get more. And I will stress this, as much as we have condemned it, I don't, again, I'm not saying this to be disrespectful to Dana White. I'm saying I'm not going to be super diplomatic, okay? I'm going to call it like it is and say, Dana, you need to pay attention to what's going on. These people have celebrated Luigi Mangione, and then Charlie Kirk is killed less than a year later. I don't want any more people to die, and it's particularly terrifying when it comes home. And that's why when I see Dana White say, look, people shouldn't lose their jobs. Okay, when these people start celebrating assassins and then they start calling you out because you have defended Trump and helped Trump win, what are we going to say? I don't want that to happen to Dana White. I love USC. I think he's a business mastermind. I love the work that he's done. I'm a huge fan. We should say to anybody who wants to go online and celebrate murders, political murders for political ends, you're gone. Because we are not going to create a path towards monetization, followers. You will not be venerated. You will be excised.
That's the line.
Polite society. So
Tim, after we talked about this last night, and as soon as I got back to my hotel, if we finish up the show and I get a call that said, so over on the post-millennial side, we had Katie Davis Court was out in the field in Portland, and they say, hey, Katie just got assaulted.
Yep.
And at first it's okay, how is she? Is she all right? Are we in comms with her? And this Antifa female had basically taken a flagpole and swung it like a baseball bat and cracked her and almost blew her eye out. And thank God, she's going to get medical and checked out. I haven't seen the actual reports, but it seems like she just got a black eye. A couple inches to the left, couple inches north, could have been a lot worse. And then she was calling and posting videos saying, the local police here in Portland won't even arrest her. I chased her down the street. I have all of this on film. They say it's too dangerous for us to go into this Antifa safe house that she located. So then I'm calling up like members of DHS that I know, some of the higher ups there, members of the administration, sending this. I say, guys, we got to do something. So we're using geolocation. Okay, she posted this on this corner, so she's in this vicinity. If it's been this many minutes, she's gone this far. And fortunately, we were able to locate her. She kept working. She kept going. Tim, there's been complete silence. You talked about it, a lot of people talked about it, but almost complete silence from conservative media, complete silence from mainstream media. No journalist associations have reached out, nothing.
I think we need federal law enforcement to stop playing games.
Yes.
And I mean political games. Why is it the line has been crossed with these terror attacks on ICE facilities? The first one, they had Antifa people outside throwing fireworks. When ICE walked outside to say, okay, they're throwing fireworks, someone in the woods unloaded with a rifle. It was a diversion tactic. It was a plan. And then we get 3 terror attacks. You are allowed to peaceably assemble in this country. We respect that. That means you can stand outside, hold up your signs, scream all you want, but you can't throw stuff. You can't blow stuff up. You can't physically attack ICE officers or smash windows and attack vehicles. I'm even willing to accept nonviolent civil disobedience, meaning if they sit down and link arms in front of the chain link fence, then they'll come up, they'll get arrested for a disorderly or something, slap on the wrist, all of that's acceptable. But why are we allowing them to physically attack people and police, and the feds are still holding back? Now, with all due respect, I understand they've stepped things up quite a bit, but I'm just saying the moment you get obstruction, you say you are all going to be arrested. We are not going to create a circumstance where terrorists can continue these attacks. The line has been crossed. I'm not going to play these games where it's like, well, we know there are terror attacks that have happened, but our concern is like, no. The left crossed the line 3 times with these terror attacks on ICE, let alone the other attacks we've seen and the murder of Charlie Kirk. Circumstance and context matters. When someone comes out and says, but you can't have a protest disrupted by, no. You can, when we have been dealing with, what are we at, 30 to 40 terror attacks this year already. And I mean literal, overt shootings, fire bombings, some of them murders. We say extenuating circumstances have been created by the left. We don't want to live this way, but there's a reason why we're deploying ICE, CBP, and National Guard. If you come out to an ICE facility and you are causing these problems, you will be arrested.
I would even go a step further. I would say you take a look at these networks. They have a safe house in Portland.
Yeah.
There's an address. And by the way, to the people who say, oh, they don't exist. Well, they have an address. They're not even a group. They have merch. Yeah,
Didn't
exactly.
Trump just sign an executive order about labeling them a terrorist group?
Indeed. And he then followed up a few days later, instructing all branches of government under the executive to go after their funding sources and their organization structure, which they have. There are leaders. There's a hierarchy, and I point out even lobsters have hierarchy. The ADL ran cover for them saying they're a leaderless, decentralized network. That is not correct. It's fair to say that there are organized factions. They fly the same flag and they coordinate with each other, but that does not mean leaderless. That's a lie to defend them.
It seems like the president just one day going, and they're a terrorist organization. Now everyone go get them. That's a little.
That's not what's happening, though.
Hit the brakes, boy.
Okay, let me ask you some questions. But I'm glad you asked this because it is a challenge of our morals and our views that the people need to hear. Was Abraham Lincoln wrong to suspend habeas corpus?
No, he was also at war.
Why?
Because he was at war with another country.
And what do you mean he was at war?
The South broke into a second country and they were fighting a conventional war. He had to break off
Who
part of
started
territory.
that war?
The people that broke up. Well, it depends on who you ask. They think that Abraham Lincoln started it. They call it the War of Northern Aggression.
Who invaded whom?
The North invaded the South. I mean, it just depends on how you look at it, but yeah.
And indeed, so the point I'm bringing up is there's arguments over who started the war because the South engaged Fort Sumter, even though it was a Union base. So there's a debate over there. There's a question of moral clarity and that slavery was wrong. So we're happy they got defeated and slavery was ended. But Abraham Lincoln, at the start of the war, he has, or actually, I should, to be fair, I'm not going to say at the start of the war, but was it wrong of him to arrest 1/3 of the Maryland legislature?
Including the governor, I believe.
This is after the Philadelphia riots. Is this why he suspended the habeas corpus?
I don't know if it was the Philadelphia.
There was a riot real close to the Capitol. He's like, we need to lock down the area around the Capitol is what happened.
The point I'm bringing up is you say something very simple, and this is the point I'm making about extenuating circumstances. The president pointed to a group and said, they're terrorists, go get them. We can't have that. No, that's not what happened. We are dealing with a decade of precedent where Andy Ngo was nearly murdered in the street. His ears had blood pouring from them. Aaron Danielson was shot and killed by a guy with a BLM tattoo on his neck, 2 bullets in the chest. Charlie Kirk was just killed by a guy, allegedly, the alleged assassin, espoused ideology in line with these liberal groups. When this is the circumstance within our culture, this is when we say, okay, are we in Lincoln territory? Now, I'm not saying that Trump should suspend habeas corpus. I'm saying Trump pointing to Antifa with organized factions, merch leaders, engaging in terror, safe houses, a legal apparatus, and 3 terror attacks on ICE facilities, and we're still holding back. I don't think it is fair to say Trump going, hey, there's a terrorist organization, get them, is a correct characterization of what we've witnessed. Because, again, I'll stress, it's more like for 10 years, the far left has brutally battered people in the streets, shut down conservative events, killed people, firebombed vehicles, gotten away with it. And only after 10 years, Trump said, I think they're terrorists. I don't think Trump was going hard enough.
The Bella Ciao. So of course, one of the bullets that was used on Charlie said Bella Ciao. One of the other ones said, "Hey, fascist, catch." Bella Ciao, even in addition to being a popular song in its own right, is also the sort of de facto international anthem of Antifa.
And let's add that there have been flyers popping up at various universities that say, "Hey, fascist, catch," and they are recruiting people to kill conservatives. It is not an exaggeration. I'm not going to play these stupid semantic games that liberals play. Well, they're not really doing. No. The bullets that they recovered after Charlie was murdered. One of them said, "Hey, fascist, catch."
So what?
And they use flyers saying, "Join our gun club." What they are saying is, do you agree with the message sent when they murdered this man in cold blood?
My question is it the organization that's called Antifa, or is it dudes in black bloc? Like, what's the real terrorist?
I would actually, so the way that I've kind of broken this down is I've said that Antifa itself is an ideology in the way that you would say radical Islam is an ideology. But within that ideology, there are many groups, some of which call themselves like Rose City Antifa. Some of them use like the John Brown Gun Club.
I got to push back a little bit. ISIS and Antifa are the same thing. Like, obviously, ISIS is substantially more dangerous, more violent. But within extremist Islam, you have ISIS. Within extremist leftism, you have Antifa. So people fly the flag of Antifa. They organize around its banner. it means something to them. There are organizing principles and there are leaders, much like ISIS.
100%.
It's not just an ideology.
No, I'm not saying it's just. I'm like, if you really want to have the discussion, you could say Antifa is like the umbrella term, and there are also multiple organizations: Anti-Racist Action, the Torch Network, Rose City Antifa, et cetera,
indeed,
et cetera.
But there are principal leaders that control all of it.
100%.
And this is the lie.
Right,
Look,
right.
man,
So I don't like dig into this, but like, if you want to ask, like, okay, there's a bunch more you can talk about. But at the end of the day, it's very simple to say Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization. They are a network. They do have centralization. They do. And by the way, the money is how you can find them. The money is how you can track this. When those people know, when the National Lawyers Guild, the NLG, goes out and say, oh, well, we know there's going to be Antifa action, so we're going to be there. How do you know to be there? Who told you to be there?
You know who's really great on this one? We're booking him to come on, Nate Friedman. So guys, follow him on social media, on Instagram, Nate Friedman _. He's been exposing the paid protesters, and this just scratches the surface. I've mentioned this time and time again. When and Luke, you know this. Yeah. When we were on the ground covering these protests, and Luke and I, as journalists and people, we would travel the world. We'd go to various countries. We'd be in Germany, we'd be in France, we'd be in Singapore. There were somehow, in Turkey, the same protesters we saw in New York were in Germany, in Turkey. We called them the tourists because we're like, it's very strange. This guy who reported to be some local New York guy to protest is here on the ground in Turkey at the exact same time. Who's paying for this? How are they involved in these protests? And I've seen some of these people in France at direct action meetings organizing, helping people craft shields by sawing garbage bins in half, watching them spray paint the Antifa shield. And they were protesting outside the Bastille. And I'm like, that's pretty crazy that guy was in Turkey and New York and LA, and now he's in France.
Yeah, they're far more organized than a lot of people understand them to be organized. And then there's, bigger kind of figureheads like George Soros that, of course, pour in a lot of the money, and that money just accidentally goes to a lot of these left-wing type of organizations that have all this chaos in our society. How coincidental that happens.
What really concerns me hearing about Katie getting attacked is I was actually thinking about Andy Ngo, who was also attacked, and that, like, Nick Shirley. Yeah, he's showing me a picture of Katie right now.
I mean, I was attacked.
So what's happening is we have to start treating this like a legitimate. It's not. I'm not saying
it is
attacked.
You've been attacked too.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not saying that
all of us here have been attacked.
Oh yeah,
literally.
So
not Ian.
It's not because I haven't dangled my junk into the combat zone on purpose to get some camera footage. But that's the big part of what's the problem.
Is that what you call reporting?
Go under. If you're going to do it, go undercover. Otherwise, you're wearing a hunk of meat in a lion's den. Nick Shirley, I love you. Take care of yourself, man. Karlin Borisenko went undercover. Do stuff like that. Like if you want to expose this thing, don't pariah, please.
But Ian, here's and I agree with you to an extent, because you're right. Like I don't want something bad to happen to Nick. I don't want something bad to happen to Katie, Andy. We saw what happened to Charlie, and at the same time, we shouldn't have to be in a situation where citizen journalists are going out doing their jobs and unable to do so, or independent journalists going out and unable to do their jobs because the streets have been taken over by left-wing extreme violent forces. Yeah. Look at that video of Nick Shirley that we played the other night where he's running around and the guy's in his face and okay, they're painting a laser on him with this green dot. All right, fine, but guess what? He could have had a weapon. He could have killed Nick. Yeah. He could have killed him. And now, by the way, the Portland police last night said, oh, well, we can't do anything about this because it's too dangerous. Now they've posted a picture of the girl who assaulted Katie. And they're saying, we'd like help from the public to identify this person, arrest them. The public was being assaulted by this person, and you stood there and did nothing while the victim was begging for you to arrest her assaulter. And then she comes on my show with a giant black eye earlier today, and I'm sitting there, and we got to worry about these men, and I'm sorry, it is the men, who should know better, who should be taking this more urgently, that are talking about it. Oh well, it's a both sides thing. We shouldn't have cancel culture. Guys, shut up. Right? We need to step up and get control of this before more people get hurt and die.
Here's the problem I see, and this is why I was making reference to not to single out Dana White, but he did give this interview. There are many people in this space. They are the Trump-supporting moderates, I suppose, that are saying, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be like that. You've got these You've got
Theo?
certain individuals like I think Seth Dillon was on this this bent where he was like, we don't engage in cancel culture and all that, and this attitude of we should not have a line will be our downfall. The left has been unrelenting in their censorship and their abuse of power. Let me add this. I just bumped into a CBP agent earlier today, and he showed us photos, and I told him you should probably go public with this, and he was concerned about getting in trouble. I said, I don't know that the Trump administration is going to be mad at you if you expose what's going on. The pictures that I saw, I wish I could get for you. Maybe we'll press a little bit further, and maybe we can work with him on this one, or work with the department, with DHS, to make sure that these can be done in a proper manner. Photos of storerooms full of resources for illegal immigrants. There's some of the stories that I was told as hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent on their health care. As soon as they walk in, they're like, I'm sick, I need health care, and then we pay for it. We, for too long, the left has run roughshod. Liberals have just done whatever they've wanted. They opened the border and let in 10 to 20 million people while we foot the bill for all of those costs. We elected Donald Trump and said, we are concerned about immigration. Please, Trump, we want to do this legally and lawfully, which I still believe is the appropriate way to do it. Yet still, even after Charlie Kirk was brutally murdered, there are people who are like, now, slow down there, guys. We need to take this one easy. And I'm like, bro, there were 4 terror attacks in 4 weeks. I think right now we should be talking about how seriously we need to take this and stop sitting here saying, nah, everything's fine.
I've been thinking about brutality in general, how the United States really hasn't seen it. We saw in May 4th, 1970, the National Guard killed 4 college students. I'm thinking about China, Tiananmen Square.
Who were attacking them?
Yeah, they were throwing rocks. The kids were throwing rocks at the National Guard, and they opened fire.
It wasn't
and
just
killed
rocks.
4 guys. Okay, so they were really attacking them.
Yes.
So in China, Tiananmen Square, 1992, I think it was, brutal crackdown.
89.
You don't see street violence in China anymore.
June 4th, 89.
89?
Yep.
So what level of brutality are you guys willing to witness?
Ian, I'm going to ask you this again because I think it's a good point you're making in that people need to hear this in our moral worldview. Charlie Kirk was murdered in cold blood in front of his family.
The video was, but his family was not present.
His family was not there.
They were not present.
Oh, okay. I was.
I know that's kind of been out there, but they were not.
I've heard conflicting reports
okay.
also.
Fair point.
Just here to tell you, they were
true, and honest.
They were not present.
Let's just.
Erica came. I think what happened was that because Phoenix and Salt Lake City are fairly close in proximity flight time. So Erica got to Salt Lake City very quickly, and I think a lot of people kind of conflated that, but she had actually not been attending the event. And the kids in general don't.
Let me walk that back as it is unnecessary to the greater point. When Ian, you ask, what brutality are we willing to witness? And I'm like, none. But the left has not stopped in a decade. So if your attitude is they've killed, they'll kill again, but we don't want brutality, so we're going to sit back and take it, you are wrong.
No, I want to know how much brutality you're willing to sit by and watch happen, because there's some coming.
I think the first step to unwind this, and Jack made this point, and I think Jack made a very good point by saying a lot of the times police officers are complicit in many of these instances for allowing it to happen, but not allowing you to defend yourself. And there are a number of documented cases that I went through personally where people attack me, people steal my stuff, people, assault me, and the police officer's like, good luck, kid. But a right winger does something, automatically they're all on top of them. So at least allow people, 1, to defend themselves, 2, and if you're going to enforce the laws, enforce them actually equally, which I think is important. Jason, you were talking about stuff that happened to you. I don't know if you want to share or open up about what happened to you. I mean, you're a comedian. You make people laugh.
Exactly what you just said. Yeah. I was at a anti-Trump protest, and I come in doing my thing. I got a little bullhorn. I hired a guy to play Elon. This is right after the chainsaw thing.
Would you think they would like that at an anti-Trump
it would be
protest?
funny.
Yeah, exactly. But well, it's either or, because some people think I'm making fun of him.
Yeah.
But but they viciously, they just saw somebody dressed as Trump, and they all literally ran after me, and the cops were there, and then we got kicked out. I mean, my microphone got thrown off. I had to replace it. But yeah, no, I was hit. I was all sorts of stuff. It was all so fast, but I got it all on camera too.
Are you okay?
But yeah, but I was fine.
Okay.
But then we got escorted out, and zero repercussions for those who attacked us.
Jamie Raskin.
Let me pull up this video. Sorry, because this is in line with what we're talking about. Luke just
sent
sent me
it to you.
this. This is a video from Cam Higbee. A leftist decided to physically attack me at Union Station tonight. I deployed mace in self-defense. It's an important video. I want to. People should see.
Here's the license. Here's the license.
Hey, I'm stupid.
Back the fuck up.
So this is Cam Higbee. He's been going to universities. He's been offering up debates, sitting down in chairs, and this is what they try to do. It's antagonistic, low-grade attacks. Well, he's defending himself.
Is she like on her knees right there? I'm trying to
pushing into him and trying to grab his hat or the microphone.
Yeah, okay.
And then he deploys mace.
Good.
I don't want to see any of this happen. I don't.
Horrible.
But the problem is, if you watch every time someone like Andy No or Nick Shirley or literally anybody goes on the ground, they play this game where they know that they're doing enough to disrupt, to lightly damage, but it's hard to get police to do anything about it.
Yeah, he might get in trouble now. If the district attorney sees this clip and they're financed by George Soros, they're like, oh no, he used mace. Why did he use mace? And there's a big chance, and it has happened in places like New York City where people defend themselves. You go to jail, which is insane.
So I was just going to say, Jamie Raskin ordered a hit on me at Union Station a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to this pro-life gala, and I get off the train at Union Station, and actually my wife had been there to pick me up, and I happen to see that Jamie Raskin is there with like a bunch of union workers, and this is when they were doing the anti-Doge stuff. And I said, oh, wow, Jamie Raskin. And he's got a bullhorn. So I walk over, and, it's Jamie Raskin. So I start, filming, and he's going and surrounded by all these union workers. And Jamie Raskin is going, and he's doing his thing. And then he starts saying, and you know something? The people are with us. The American people are with us. They support us. They support what we're doing. And I just sit there and I'm like, well, Jamie, if the American people support you, why'd they vote for Donald Trump? If they support you so much. And he's like, what? And then he just like gestures at me. The entire crowd of union workers comes in and just starts beating me. They grab my bag, which right here, which had my tablet in it. They attack my phone. They do all of this. I've got all this on video.
Wow.
They push me. They're shoving me out the 6 days from Sunday, and I go over. Now they get across. Capitol Police start screaming at me. Capitol Police start saying, "Why did you start a fight over there?" And they said that, and then the union guys went over to Capitol Police and said, "Hey, can you arrest that guy? He's threatening the congressman."
Wow.
And I said, I have the entire thing on video. I'm more than happy to show this to you. I never made a single threat. I never made a threatening gesture. And then the Capitol Police officer told me that, oh, well, I can see you moving towards him. I said, I'm moving towards him because the crowd is shoving me towards him after he pointed at me to be assaulted. I made a report about this. Capitol Police has never done anything. And I pointed out exactly who it was. They just let them all walk away.
I just, look, I can respect and appreciate a lot of the moves that the executive branch is making, but
that's actually legislative.
As an aside too, I'm wondering, like with this Alex Jones thing, like why isn't there any kind of intervention at the federal level over what a clear violation of his rights? I guess
you with the company.
Yeah, like. Come on. I mean, it's a bit egregious and insane over defamation to completely destroy a company 10 years later. I'm not going to defend what he said, but it's ridiculous the lengths they went to destroy InfoWars. And I'm saying, okay, look, is perhaps there like a Harmeet Dillon angle on civil rights being violated here or something with the courts in the state that they could stop this?
We should pull up the story if we haven't yet. I don't think we pulled it up on the show yet, but
that Alex Jones is shutting down.
Yeah, he just mentioned that the court said today they're taking him down.
Yeah, I haven't seen the latest.
To be fair, the challenge on this one is, and with all due respect to Alex, is we've heard this quite a bit.
At least 3 times, yeah.
Yeah, so we've heard quite a bit. The judge has ordered the shutdown, and we've covered it, and then there's a stay of some sort. So we have another one of these stories where he's saying federal judge greenlights the shutdown, something may intervene. But isn't there something to be done now with winning the election where we have the DOJ, the Civil Rights Division, that we can start countering these things?
Yes.
I do get that there's finite bandwidth, but we need now more than ever to see, like, Jack, why did they let those guys attack you? I mean, we know what these people are doing.
Right. And
someone's got to
this is, and I posted the video, and again, you know, Capitol Police never even reached out to me afterwards. I did have some good communication with the speaker's office afterwards, where I discussed it, and they looked into it, but couldn't even get a sit down.
They couldn't even get rid of pull Ilhan Omar off of her committees.
It feels like I've been reading about the fascists of the 1920s.
People don't get what time we're in.
And the craziness of mobs, like how a mob can just do some horrible thing to another human, and then it's over. And then like what? Then there's the mob standing around, and did the mob disperses? And like, just don't be that guy that enraged the mob.
I want you to imagine that you're standing on the gallows in front of a sea of 1,000 liberals, and the executioner is walking up to the noose, and they say, "Plead your case to the people." Do you believe that there is anything you could say in any infinite amount of time that would make them say, this man should be allowed to live and be free to go?
Nope. Technically, but I doubt I'd come up with it.
That's actually a decent answer. I mean, in the grand scheme of the universe, you could probably figure out something, but in all reality, it's 99.99% they don't know, they don't care. They're going to scream, burn the witch. They're going to scream, boo, they're going to throw rocks.
Don't be the witch. Don't be the rich.
It's Robespierre, it's France.
How do you
They did not know or care, they said off with their heads.
And I sense bloodthirst in these mobs sometimes. I don't know. When you tell me that you were yelling, well, did you yell when you yell at Raskin with a big crowd? Or would you do it again?
Of course, I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Why?
Because this is the United States of America, and I'm allowed to have freedom of speech. And if this guy is going to be some leader who, by the way, threw Steve Bannon in jail, threw Jamie Raskin, threw Peter Navarro in jail over a complete lie over January 6th, and I can't even go up and confront him in public without having a union mob of his thugs attack me, then you know what? Then I am going to do that, and I'm going to continue to do that, because if we cower, then they win.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to be cowardly.
And by the way, Turning Point USA, by the way, is going to continue doing events. And yes, to your point, we are going to continue being tactical. And look, sometimes it takes those tactics to be able to force a conversation. And look, I did not expect a sitting member of Congress to do that, but that is how blatantly untouchable these people feel they are. And you know what? We're letting them. We are the ones letting them be untouchable.
It's like that video with Cam where these liberals assault people and get away with it all the time. This only stops when police start just arresting them. When feds go out arresting them. So long as these cities keep saying liberals are allowed to do it, there's only you know what I heard, Jack? I heard that there's a lot of people from Washington moving to Arizona.
I mean, there's a lot. The left coast coming in.
Yeah, why are they leaving? Could it be that Portland is a war zone? The businesses are shut down.
What, Oregon?
Was it?
You said Washington.
Oh, right. Well, I just mean Pacific Northwest. From the left coast. And so you've got Seattle is a disaster. Portland is a disaster. So people are fleeing. The end result of this is obvious. The politically appointed police and politicians that get elected in these places are not going to change the way they handle things. Nope. More and more regular people will flee the anarcho-tyranny, and you will get geographic bifurcation. What does that result in?
Well, I mean, it depends. You know, you've got. I get what you're going for, but it results in massive schisms in the United States, particularly on flash button issues. One of which would be because of the Dobbs decision is now a states' rights issue is abortion. So you know you're going to get a situation where certain states are going to have wildly different laws from other states, but you're also going to here's the key difference. You're going to have a group of people who says those states aren't allowed to have those laws.
Let's do some math real quick, some political math. California has banned federal agents from any law enforcement from wearing masks, which is targeting ICE. The DHS has instructed their agents to continue wearing their masks.
Yeah, they have no ability to instruct federal agents.
Will Gavin Newsom enforce his own laws?
So have his police go up against, or like state troopers, I suppose.
State troopers, are they going to enforce the mask law against federal law enforcement? He's not going to do it.
No, I don't think he's going to do it. I think
what if he does?
What if he did? Then yes, you would absolutely get into a standoff of state and federal authority where you could have a clash.
So the question right now is
hypothetically.
Simply,
I don't think it would, but hypothetically.
The question is, will Gavin Newsom seek to enforce this law? because, and everyone wants to say no. I'm fine with the assumption that it won't, but I'm also concerned about normalcy bias and optimism bias. Gavin Newsom wants to win the presidency, has already stated he fears there won't be an election, and he's going to do what the people in California tell him to do, and they are going to say, ICE is kidnapping people, they are black bagging my neighbors, Newsom, do something, and he's going to be like, this is my path to victory. That's why they have the law in the first place. I believe there's actually a decent probability he does try to enforce this. Now, the real risk is, I think the likely path of enforcement, if he does, this takes effect January 1st, 26, is through, I believe they say that it's a civil fine. It's a misdemeanor that results in a civil penalty for these law enforcement officers. These ICE officers live in California, and they work for the federalized facilities in that state. I think the state's going to go after their homes, their resources, their assets, and they're going to put the pressure on the ICE agents of, if you obey Trump, we will take your life from you, we'll put your family at risk, financially and through resource. It's not going to be so obvious and easy as they're going to try and have you arrested, which creates bad optics. It's literally going to be a sheriff shows up to the guy's house and says, look, we've got an order for, we're taking your house. You owe the state $37,000 that you haven't paid, so we're seizing your assets. It's not going to be an overtly political issue. It's going to be the story of a guy who owes money to the state for some reason. This is the conflict that results in federal agents saying we can't do this job anymore. There is going to be a muddy conflict between the state and the federal government. We've already seen one of the more terrifying things of Gavin Newsom asserting authority over the National Guard, Trump asserting his authority, it going to the courts, it's bouncing back and forth. Now Oregon is doing the same thing, suing the federal government over whether or not Trump has the actual authority to command the National Guard. What happens when the constituents of California or Oregon demand of their governors stop listening to Trump? What he's doing is illegal. They've already asserted it's illegal. They believe it's illegal. They're going to say Trump packed the courts. You know what? Let's go to why I think the Jedi are the bad guys, and I mean somewhat jokingly. But the line in Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin says we can't kill the Emperor, which put him on trial, and he says he controls the courts. He controls this, and he must be stopped now. That line of thinking. These people think that they are the fictional heroes who are saying Trump controls the courts. He controls the Supreme Court. It's corrupt and illegal what they're doing. They must be stopped.
I just want to preface my response to this by saying the prequels are not canon. There are 3 Star Wars movies, and there's a whole bunch of fan fiction. So beyond that, except for the EU, which is canon. Shout out to all my base Star Wars EU enjoyers. But that's exactly right. So what you're saying is but take it back a second, because Tim, you and I were talking earlier. Why do they have this fervor? It's theological. It is a sort of anti-religion, if you will, where they have the theological fervor that where conservatives typically do not. A conservative will say, I don't want to be too conservative. Leftists never say that. Leftists will say, guys, whoa, we don't want to go too far here. Getting too many people fired. We're canceling too many celebrities. They never say that. They never say that at all. They only get stopped by the ballot box or by market share or something like that. They never, ever stop because they have the courage of their convictions. They actually do, by the way. And that's something that a lot of conservatives lack. And you know why? And Charlie Kirk will tell you why. Because he did a video before he died where he said the reason that so many Republicans and conservatives are terrified of going on offense is because they see what happens because of people like Jamie Raskin, and they see what happens to a Steve Bannon or a Jack Posobiec who gets this, union thug after him in the same spot where Cam Higbie's at right now, or a Peter Navarro gets sent to jail, or Donald Trump getting almost shot at, or now, and you could even add a piece in, where, and I'm not going to edit Charlie's video, but I was like, wow, you could even edit that video and have someone say, or just maybe like a scrolling text, right? And have it say, 3 weeks after this video was taken, Charlie Kirk was shot dead on campus.
I think you are right about people. There's a chilling effect about the individuals standing up to power and getting arrested, or their lawyers getting arrested. And so, lawyers, yeah. And people are like, a lot of people are very happy that the government seems to be doing it in the harshest way possible, as fast as possible, because they feel powerless. They feel like if they did try it, they would just get arrested, or in 4 years they'd get arrested. And I don't know that relying on the government to solve the problem is the answer.
Well, Ian, here's the thing, right? You just mentioned Mussolini. So when the government doesn't step up and protect your people, when the government collapses, when the government shows itself to be ineffective, people start seeking other means.
With Mussolini, they basically, Italy destroyed itself in World War I. They killed all their men trying to take the Isonzo River to the east. So they were a wrecked monarchy, and the fascists marched on the capital. They took like 500,000 men,
and that's
took
what I
over
mean.
Rome.
That monarchy, right? That monarchy was seen as a government in collapse, and it was seen as an illegitimate government.
And the government didn't want any bloodshed. They were like, just let him have the country. The king was like, just to have.
Tim,
I'm going to
you see what I'm
abdicate if you
getting
don't
at.
give him the country.
What?
That when people don't get relief from the violence from government not failing to do its job, then they will start seeking other means.
Indeed. The question is confidence. Why is someone willing to accept a dollar bill for a good or service? Is because there's confidence that they will be able to exchange that later for something they needed. I see $1 and I say, I want that. Why? I can go buy a candy bar with it. Luke says, okay, well, I want you to, clean the floors. And I say, oh, great, I'll get $1 for this. Same thing is true for government.
Man,
Government
Luke,
only
you're only
exists
giving
through
$1 for the
confidence.
floors?
And it's the fear of the monopoly on violence that largely keeps people in line. It wasn't always that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. But the point that I've made over the past several years is the thought experiment is to imagine you're at home, Jack, and you hear your doorbell ring. Maybe you got a Ring doorbell, whatever. And you walk up and you look outside and there's a clown, a literal clown in a full clown outfit. And you go,
I didn't order the clown today. He was supposed to come tomorrow.
You go, can I help you? And he goes, clown police, open up. I have a warrant. And you go, huh? I'm not opening my door for you. I have a warrant. And he holds it up. Then 3 clowns come up behind him with vests on.
Yep.
And they're like, open your door, clown police. You'd be like, what is going on? Clowns are not coming in my house. The reason I say something so ridiculous is that when we get to the point where a police officer of law enforcement of any faction is not recognized by the individual in their home, they will behave as though a clown showed up on their doorstep, and their warrant is as meaningful as a clown warrant. That's what happens when there's no confidence in government. Meaning, if a clown shows up, I have no confidence they can enforce anything, nor do they have any authority. I have no fear of any retribution or reprisal if I defend myself from clowns trying to break into my house. But if a cop says he's got a warrant, he's coming in your house, you know that all you can do is comply.
So we had like the force is the government, and then we just have different people in charge. So when Biden was in charge, they arrested all those people for Jan 6. It felt like people were getting the raw end of the deal, that they weren't being protected for these 4 years. Before that, it never really happened. And after that, whatever you want to think about today, different people tell you different things. But that lack of confidence only seemed to have built over that 4-year period. So I don't think it's so lost that it's been like 20 years of hopelessness that the government's impotent.
I think there's a chance right now. And that chance really cannot be squandered, because if they don't get it right, they will. And so, you mentioned talking about clown police. And Luke, this as well, having grown up in Eastern Europe, Tanya, my wife, growing up in the collapse of the Soviet Union, and would tell you that, and we've talked about it. There's a whole TV show about it that just came out. And we were talking, and it's like the police. So what ends up happening is that you get gangs and criminals really rise up, and some gangs might control a whole city, but other gangs, it's typically like a street or a neighborhood or a couple of streets or something. They're always beefing. And then the police just they're sort of like another gang. And so because there's so much violence and so many reprisals and no authority to stop any of it, that if you don't join the gang, you're fair game, basically. Yeah. And so everyone is forced into these situations because your entire government, your entire society is collapsing all around you.
This is why I ask what level of brutality you're willing to allow to create order. There's going to be some evil done to create some order, because our country's been floundering in this state of chaos. It can't happen. If China has a more ordered country than we do, then it's going to show the world that they have a better system than we do, and we're all going communist if that happens.
Define better.
Less violence on the street, a more ordered system. At what cost, of course? At what cost? But if you look on the street, people aren't we don't see Antifa riding on the streets of China right now.
And always has been.
Yeah, because Antifa took over China.
As I stated earlier, if everybody in this country had the same moral worldview as Charlie Kirk, you'd need no police. Not a single law enforcement officer.
That is true, obviously, but it's always been an impossibility to have that kind of uniformity.
Except in the early days of this country, we didn't have police forces.
Just militias.
Well, it was just the local guys, and the militia was just the local guys who had weapons. And the police, I think police came into being in the 18th century. They started to emerge.
And now we've got internet videos. So when there's a riot in Portland, the federal government knows within 3 minutes, and they can get federal troops there within an hour, But 10, 30 years ago, they wouldn't even hear about the riot until the next day or
By the way,
something.
today is
requiring written laws is a horrible sign for your civilization. The fact that we have to write down what people should not do. Like, you ever see a sign and you're like, that sign is there because someone did it. Like, imagine there's a sign on the wall here and it said, don't take a dump on the floor.
Yeah, I got a couple of those in the Navy.
Yeah, you'd be like, that means someone did it and they had to remind everybody.
Right,
It's
right.
becoming a problem. We have to write this down.
Another thing was that they used the word permitted. I'm like, well, why would you have to tell me I'm allowed to do everything? Why would you have to make a sign that says I'm permitted to
You're
do
not allowed
this?
to do everything.
Basically, I'm a sovereign animal human that can do anything I want. I was like 6 looking at a sign that said smoking permitted. And I'm like, why would you even obviously you
You're not
can. Tell me when it's not allowed. Don't tell me when I'm allowed to do and assume that I can't.
When you're infringing upon someone else.
It's just a weird way to put a sign up. Like,
and-
here you can do it. Well, like, duh.
I look at it like you know, like the like 3 states of matter in terms of population density. You have a sphere around you that grants that affords you certain abilities, and that is, if you're in the middle of nowhere, your freedom range is massive. You can shoot a gun. You can shoot a gun on a 2,000 meter range if you have this space around you where you're not going to cause problems and infringe upon people. Then you move into the suburbs, and now your range has dropped substantially down to maybe only like 30 or 40 feet. You can't shoot a gun in suburbs unless there's a dedicated range area. Then in cities, you have no freedom range. You are all tightly packed in concrete boxes in a big block that smells like sour milk. And you can't even play the drums. You can't play your guitar too loud because you'd start offending, like you start encroaching on other people and their levels of comfort. And so the rules get tighter and tighter and tighter the closer we live together. What we have in cities is you basically have limited freedom, if any. They don't let you do anything. Live in the country, you can do whatever you want.
But however, I would just add to that cities also afford you the ability. They afford you a lot of benefits from living in a city as well. So there's the convenience of living in a city. There's the communicative ability of living in the city. There's the ability to you have culture, you have economy, you have society. This all comes from
right at the bottom of your building.
the city, right? So it is the convenience, the accessibility, the speed of our society. Civilization itself comes from the cities. This is my urban right thing that I've been working on, where that we wouldn't have any of the things that we have today if we, and there are trade-offs to be sure, and what you're describing is these trade-offs and are these trade-offs, but without those, you don't get the advances and you don't get the social society and civic society that we have today. And early on in America, I mean, it was like frontier.
My point is, Ian, if you want to smoke wherever you want, get a boat, go out to the middle of the ocean where you'll bother nobody.
Go for it,
it was a tangent. The reason I'm bringing up like laws and just brutality in general and order and how to produce order through making evil. You don't always have to do evil to make order, but sometimes it works. Is that Trump just called all the generals, Pete Hegseth and he were talking to all the generals, and Trump said, well, hey, maybe we're going to, no, he didn't say maybe. He said, we're going to practice. You guys can practice in Chicago. Like telling the military, you're going to go into Chicago and practice and get ready. I believe it's Chicago or Portland. And
Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago. So he told the troops, you're going to practice your job, which is killing people.
That's not correct.
Well, the military's main job is destroying the enemy. In Chicago, you're going to practice that.
I think I challenge that notion quite a bit.
Destroying people and infrastructure.
The military does a lot more than destruction, but it is fair to say that they should be effective killing machines.
Yeah.
I think
They use force.
they use force, but I would argue that it's fair. The military does a lot in terms of domestic support, border support, security. It's not about destroying the enemy, yes, but I don't like that neoliberal, like that liberal economic order worldview of sending our troops overseas to destroy enemies unseen to the American people. And I don't think it's fair to characterize the military as killing machines or destructive forces when they're trying to protect their home.
The best thing you could do is turn your enemy into your friend. The military's job really isn't that, though. That's like the president and the diplomacy aspect of the governments. The military's job is if diplomacy breaks down, they do what they do. And to say go into Chicago and train that is like, what kind of brutality is he anticipating? Sorry.
I was going to say, I get what you're saying. I get what he's saying. And I could sit here and talk about, yes, the military has humanitarian assistance and disaster relief authorities, infrastructure, National Guard. But I get what you're saying. You're saying that the point of a standing, the main and primary point of having a standing army is their ability to wage war, right? Is the War Department, right? And my God, I don't want to live in a society where we have to talk about sending the military into Chicago.
Right.
I don't want to live in a society or Philly or Baltimore or New York or all of these. I don't want any of this, right? But we are forced to because the situation has gotten so bad. And we can talk about the Great Migration and we could talk about all these things that have happened that have gotten us to this point, but we are facing them and we are facing them right now. And I've always said it's funny to me mention that because I always say like this is kind of the difference between, your rural conservative and your urban right, where it's like the rural conservative, and we know that guy, like we love that guy, right? He's the, he has a pickup truck, he's got a bunch of long guns in there, he's got all that freedom and he's fighting to conserve that. Whereas the urban right, has already sort of lived with all of these trade-offs their whole life. And so they are fighting for their home that was stolen from them in so many of these cases. And you've seen it in all the great cities of America. And they're, in some cases, actually quite more reactionary and more radicalized because they've seen it happen before their eyes.
So the issue is, Ian, well, to finalize that point I was making about the military, when we send National Guard to places, they're not just killing people. The military does a lot in support of the interests of the United States beyond just combat. Is my principal point. If we were to deploy military to the streets of Chicago, or like we did in L.A., they're not shooting and killing anybody. That's not at all what they were doing. So I guess ultimately, however, the question is for you, Ian: would you rather get shot by a gangbanger for literally no reason, just because you're a white guy in the wrong neighborhood, or have some National Guardsmen on the corner wave at you as you walk past?
Oh, well, National Guard. Give me the National Guard.
The reality, for me, I know what it's like to walk past National Guard. I was in Ferguson during the riots. They had National Guard stationed like 2 blocks down. We walked over. Let's go check out the National Guard. We walked up. Hey guys, how's it going? They were like, it's going pretty good. How about yourselves? And we were like, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, we're here in case things kick off. We've been asked to do this.
You've seen him in DC now,
Super
right?
chill. Yeah. I haven't actually interacted or.
Oh no, it's the same thing.
I've seen him, but
same exact
right.
thing.
So I grew up in Chicago. I walk down the street. My buddy, I get mugged. I get a guy threatens to stab me. These are common occurrences. I got shot at for no reason. And so you ask someone like me, like, hey, the Democrats have controlled Chicago for 100 years. They've never dealt with this problem. If you were to ask me, I'd say, why don't they request help from federal law enforcement to just end all of the gangs? Chicago could write a single letter to Trump, end gangs in Chicago, and he'd say, done. And I'm willing to bet in a couple of months there'd be no more gangs in Chicago.
But is that because they would lay waste to like 30,000 people?
No, because they'd literally stand on street corners and go, hey.
They lay waste to themselves.
So they're playing politics.
Yeah. Jason, how would Trump respond to Ian?
Well, Ian, a little hippie-like, right? A little hippie. But it's okay. I have hippie friends, right? Barron hung out with one once, and that was just one time, okay? But look, we need toughness and we need strength, okay? You know it.
I do know it. I believe that it's true, actually. I think that if we don't make a show of force, that the creep will continue.
Why?
Yes.
Why won't Chicago, in over 100 years, request federal assistance to end gang violence?
They probably think that the Marines would come in and kill
No, that's not-
1,000
that's
people or
ridiculous.
something. I mean,
Because they're in on it.
That's ridiculous.
Because they're in on it.
maybe
It's because they're in on it. It's because they use these issues to get elected. They create uniparty control of the city for 100 years, and they don't want to clean it up because it's useful to them.
And also, if
Trump could go in, and it's very, very simple. How do you stop gang violence in Chicago? National Guard stands on a street corner.
But then they'd have to leave eventually, and then the gangs would just come back.
No, they wouldn't.
Well,
You
eventually.
know what Chicago did? Chicago bulldozed the homes in the black neighborhoods and just scattered the gangs into different suburbs and said, no more gangs in Chicago because they're in Joliet now.
Don't you think gangs is just a phenomenon of big cities?
Gangs a phenomenon of no law enforcement. So a good example is the favelas in Brazil. When the World Cup was coming to Brazil, the government decided to do what they called pacification of the favelas. Because there was no law enforcement, the de facto government was the gangs. In these areas in Chicago, police will not go because they're like, gangs run that. So they don't go there. They don't deal with it. And if they do, they're like, you got to be real careful when you go in these neighborhoods.
Hey, man.
Chicago cops themselves are deeply corrupt and have been for a very long time, allegedly operating black sites. We had that one cop, I always forget his name, who was electrocuting people into false confessions. The city has been mafia, Democrat, gang control for 100 years. There's another reason why I'm not a default cops are always good no matter what, because I grew up in Chicago. If Trump wanted to, and there's political challenges to this. He could end all the gangs in Chicago. It would not be violence. It would not be shootouts. There's actually some gangs that'll be very grateful that he does it. The government of Illinois, Pritzker, could say, why do we have 800 deaths per year in Chicago from gun violence? Well, clearly our law enforcement can't handle it. Mr. President, can you assist us? Trump would say, we'll have this taken care of in a few months. Gun violence will be over. In fact, you can, like you mentioned with D.C., crime dropped immediately just because they're walking around.
Bukele proved
Indeed.
Bukele ended the argument. Bukele ended the argument completely. He completely debunked 50 or 100 years of Democrat, liberal professors and academics and academia and all the rest of it who said, oh, well, the socioeconomic factors that... No. The worst of the worst, you put them behind bars.
How brutal was that? Because it wasn't televised, really. Do you know much about?
It was mainly mass arrests. The vast bulk of it was mass arrests
of people with like gang tattoos, known gang affiliations.
Yeah, and cartel too. It was even worse than just gang.
There are legitimate and absolute concerns about innocent people getting wrapped up in these things, or former gang members who have abandoned that lifestyle, but they still have the tattoos and things like that. I respect those concerns. The challenge always is we are not looking at a one-for-one. It is not so simple to say today's circumstance are the same as 30 years ago. 30 years ago, maybe, well, actually, Chicago's had the problem for 100 years, so it need to be cleaned up. But it's one thing 10 years ago to be like, well, we don't want cops to go around and arrest everybody. We need to make sure forces... Okay, well, they shot and killed Charlie Kirk. They killed Aaron Danielson. There have been numerous terror attacks on ICE. We've had 30 plus this year. There is a time when you're going... Here's the example I give. Don't take your garden hose and spray down your living room floor, right? Why would you ever do that, Ian? Is there any reason?
Crazy to do something like that.
Is there any reason you'd ever grab your garden hose and just start spraying?
What if your floor's on fire?
If your floor's on fire.
Yeah.
And
you
people would be
want
like,
to wash
okay,
the pee off or something.
The water damage will be pretty bad, but the fire damage is worse. And I don't want to live in a burning home, but sometimes you spray your house down with water.
Hey, man, and I'll up your ante here. I'm going to raise your bet because also there's a global insurgency inside the United States right now. The world does not like free speech. It's an aberration to the function of the planet. Property rights don't make a lot of sense to most of the planet. So they would love to see this country fall over and adopt communist technocracy. And we have to stop that and then redirect the course.
We have to protect what this country is and meant to be, and go to Super Chats. So smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. We aren't doing the uncensored shows this week just because logistics is very difficult to pull off, but we are going to read your Super Chats now. So again, smash the like button, share everything always. Let's see what we got. Elite02K says, best case scenario, Netflix complete de-gays the service. Worst case scenario, they half the price of the service and somewhat de-gay the service. Win-win situation, to be honest. Well, if they lose all their conservative customers, they're going to double up the gay. That's why it's a Chinese finger trap problem. As conservatives boycott, Netflix goes, okay, well, look, we've invested heavily in these programs. Conservatives are leaving. To win them back, we have to lose X amount of dollars. Why don't we just try and increase the price on the liberals and go activist route? So you never know which way it's going to go. Double-edged sword.
Shout out to Brave Books, Brave Plus, who has a great service. If you have kids, you want to check out Brave Books. People know I'm involved with that. Kevin Sorbo, Kirk Cameron. It's just a great way. And they have other. If you get their app, they have other. Lots of just like old like Sonic cartoons and like Redwall and different things that are just Inspector Gadget, just good shows.
I love that cartoon.
All right, we got Dank Prometheus says Pope came out as pro-choice. Is that true?
No, that's not true. But the Pope was embroiled in this controversy regarding Senator Dick Durbin, who, funny enough, actually would have been his senator if he still lived in Chicago, because he's a senator for Illinois, where Dick Durbin was going to receive an acknowledgement, this sort of like proclamation from a local diocese, the Archdiocese of Chicago. And they asked the Pope about it, and he basically said, well, even though he's a huge abortion supporter, should we do this? And he said, well, I think we have to look at the totality of what he stands for, and I wouldn't necessarily be against it, and have to look at all that. And so even though the Pope basically kind of, absolved him of his pro-abortion stance, Durbin actually did step down and say is not going to be going forward with this celebration.
Interesting. All right, we got Scribblyberry says, Luke again. Isn't that guy on a list for going to a certain island?
That's right.
I love when I introduce Luke to people and they're like, oh, nice to meet you, Beck. He's been to Epstein Island.
And I'm like, I wasn't invited. They didn't ask me to go.
So we have to find out where the new island is to figure out where Bad Bunny went to. So I have to check the travel.
Do you think that Trump was an informant for the FBI and that's why they won't release it?
No, but Trump did help out some of the victims.
Yeah, I think that was a
in
misstatement.
2009. But the whole situation now, him calling it a hoax, is super weird.
All right, let's see. We got Leo Wolf the Red. He says, we need the GOP to win in New Mexico, too. Dems have ruined my state and preventing oil and gas development, not to mention MLG banning 2A in Bernalillo County. New Mexico is conquered.
New Mexico, I mean, there's like, I love Santa Fe. I think Santa Fe is gorgeous. I think it's beautiful. It's actually America's either oldest or one of its oldest cities. I think it's a great town. I've been there a bunch of times. And I'm just huge fan. My old blog used to have a connection to Santa Fe before I was in politics. And I love Meow Wolf. I love going to the Jacques Cousteau Theater there. And it's just really sad. It's just really sad.
Let's say New Mexico is being held. It's only conquered if the war ends and it's ceded.
Yeah, we can retake territory. It's occupied.
Yeah,
but we can win it back. We can. By the way, all of these things can be done with willpower. We could flip California red. We could fix New Mexico. We could flip New Jersey red. And by the way, we're going to in 4 weeks. We are going to flip New Jersey red. All it takes is willpower.
I think the polls don't matter as much. What the bigger question I have is, how much work has ICE done in the district?
Maybe ICE should go out there on November 5th. Maybe we should make sure that ICE is out there. I'm just saying.
On the voters.
On the criminals.
Let
and
that
the liars
not happen.
All right, here's a good
citizens.
To make sure that no illegals are voting, because obviously that's illegal, right? So
Indeed.
We're just going to make sure we're enforcing the law in New Jersey on Election Day.
All right, here's a good one. Mike Ross says, I just came up with a theory. Does changing the name of the Department of Defense to Department of War potentially cancel contract with NGOs or other third-party activist agencies? I had to tell you the answer is no. But could you imagine, like Hegseth and Trump? They're like, we got all this debt. How do we get out of it? I know. Just change your name.
Let's try it anyway.
Let's try it. That's not me. All right. Atlantis Lion says, the fact that Jimmy Kimmel got his show back is the definition of nothing ever happens. I'm with Mary Morgan on that. We are all Charlie.
Amen.
I mean,
I
think the last part proves that things happen and sometimes it's terrifying and not good. All right. Unisol says Captain America is the story based off Audie Murphy. Well, I mean, maybe there's inspiration there. Obviously, you know the story of Audie Murphy.
I do,
right?
and yeah,
single-handedly
young
took
man
down
from
a tank
Tennessee. There's a great Sabaton song about him.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Tex Ray says Tom McDonald halftime show. Okay. Yeah.
I got to tell you, I've gotten a lot. And you know, I can't get into like any of the conversations, but there's been a lot of interest in this Creed show,
bro. Yeah. I'd be so down.
There's been a lot of interest.
Creed. Everybody loves.
Sell out a stadium, 100,000 people watching Creed.
Actually, one thing that came up is that we might not be able to get a stadium because the NFL. Right, would not want another stadium to be used to counter program,
right.
And the stadium owners might be in a bad position.
Okay.
So we'd have to do an arena more than
underground.
So if you can't,
we can get arena. We can get an arena.
But arena's what, like 12,000 seats?
I mean, it's a range, yeah, something like that.
It's gonna be so hot.
Okay,
bro, Scott Stapp.
Still good.
But and by the way, I would want to set it up so that it's if we're putting on a totally separate event, my thinking would be. That we don't, because typical halftime show is what, like a half hour, like max. Yeah. Like I would want to do more than 30 minutes of content. So maybe you have like a lineup, and then the show, and then like a finale. And maybe the finale is the halftime show.
Maybe we have a Magic the Gathering tournament with a halftime show that is Creed, right, Ian?
That sounds like actually a very good
idea.
Yeah,
we're just totally there for the great Magic the Gathering halftime show.
If we can get JD Vance to play black,
JD Vance plays.
JD Vance would come and JD Vance would roll everybody in there. People were asking me if it was in the binder. Yes, it was JD Vance's. It was his third edition Gathering binder.
He's got a 9.5
because it sure wasn't the Epstein files. It sure wasn't that.
Still don't have those.
Nope.
His MT. That's good.
All right, what do we got here? Ligma says Poso is correct. The only band that should play halftime shows from this point out is Creed, It's the American thing to do.
Amen.
Just forever.
Amen.
That's it. Every Super Bowl is just going to be Creed.
Amen.
All right, what do you got here?
When we win.
The Hat and Beard Show says meta-modern is just the core millennial value being forefront in the zeitgeist. We have and always hate posers. Most leftists are clearly play acting. Well, I think liberals, I don't think they have ideology. I think they say what they have to say to make money. That's why they don't come on shows and debate, because it doesn't make them money unless they get paid. And they get paid. Have you noticed when certain conservative or right-leaning podcasts pay people to come on, they just kind of agree with everything? There's certain liberal personalities who've been hired or paid to go on shows, and they just go, "Oh, you know, yeah, I didn't think about it. Like, you're right."
A lot of the liberal people I know, they're ignorant, and to get humiliated, to like learn to get and to show your ignorance on TV is a rough ask. But if you tell them in private, they'll
do it for money.
Like,
It's one of their
really?
kinks.
It's a shame fetish.
Yes.
Yeah. Public shame fetish.
Brushy Honey says Snoop Dogg Creed duo.
Wow. Snoop Dogg did play Trump's inauguration. He played the crypto ball. I was there.
And then he apologized for it, didn't he? Or he
I don't
tried
recall.
to backtrack it, did he?
I don't recall. I mean, I was there that night. It was a pretty wild performance. He was extremely high when he came out. That's all I'll say.
All right. Chronic Seeds Inc. I wonder what he's up to. Says, what's this doorbell footage of Tyler with a female right after the shooting in the neighborhood? And why did FBI withhold this information? I'd like to take this opportunity to just make a few points. We did a culture war debate on this one. First thing I'll say is I want any and all answers.
Same.
Who knows? But
for the record, same, obviously. Like I said last night.
Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. And it is obvious the FBI is not going to release every bit of information they have, especially if it could compromise their investigation. So people are asking questions like, why didn't the FBI do this? Why didn't they do that? No, honestly, you'd have to ask Cash. But one simple example is when it comes to investigations, confessions, or if they're trying, I'll put it like this. Let's say they're looking for something very specific that they saw in footage. Let's say it is a bag of In-N-Out with, like a happy face drawn on it. Why won't they put out the footage? Because they don't want people to go out and just start buying a bunch of bags of In-N-Out, drawing happy faces on them, and then littering the country and taking pictures of them and giving them noise and static. Certain information you want to keep close to the chest so that when you're looking for it, no one can fabricate or manipulate. So we deal with this in security where we once had a credible threat. I'll just tell you guys. I probably should, but I'm saying it anyway. We had a credible threat, and we were forced to evacuate. Now, often when we get swatted, we didn't have to evacuate. Why? In this instance, someone knew something specific they should not have known. So when we got swatted, security said, I need to ask you if X is true. Is X true? I said, X is true. Okay, we're evacuating the building. Everyone out. How would someone have sent in a threat known a specific detail? Well, it compromised our security. So there are reasons why the FBI will collect information and not literally release everything to the public, because it could compromise the investigation. I am not defending anything the FBI has done. I'm giving you a rational explanation. And there are people saying, like, they should give us this piece of information. I say, well, for all you know, that piece of information could actually help the shooter escape. And I will stress, the one thing that's really disconcerting about these conspiracy theories is, by all means, I'm not going to tell people not to speculate, ask questions, do that. But I will also stress, boy, are people drumming up a lot of reasonable doubt for the defense.
I have to bring this up. This has been on my mind a lot. When a tragedy happens, part of the human brain wants to know what caused that, why did that happen, and understand it so that it doesn't happen again. We're better defended against it. But you have to keep moving. If you get distracted by what happened in the past, new avenues of attack open up in front of you in all sorts of ways you don't see coming. But when people are hurting and they don't know why, they develop what's called madness. And it is either going to take you to sadness or anger. So if you don't feel the sadness and you don't let yourself, this hatred to figure out and to take control of the situation makes people come up with this fucking bullshit. So lay off. Let them do their jobs. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Today is the 8-year anniversary of the Las Vegas shooting.
Wow. Yeah. We still have no idea what happened. They never told us, and I'm upset about that.
Yeah.
I want to make sure this is clear. Like, I think journalism is important. I think I'll say this with respect to conspiracy theorists, is always a smear against people who are actually trying to figure out what's going on. And any good journalist is a conspiracy theorist. That being said, I think a lot of people are milking this for clicks, and they're putting out exaggerated claims, palm gun stuff, and that's just silly. And and it's like it falls apart really quick. But I see there are people with channels like 10,000 subs and they get like 1 million views. And so they're going to keep pushing these things, and they're just muddying it, making it difficult for those of us that are trying to figure out what actually happened.
Look, I don't have an issue with anyone who's trying to figure out what happened to Charlie. You know, in the sense that if that's really where they're coming from,
agreed.
Yeah,
and that's the way I look at it. If you're really coming from a place where you've got questions, and who wouldn't, right? I've got questions. I have so many questions. I sit up at night asking questions, and at the end of the day, though, if you are doing that in good faith, then good on you. Like that's what America's all about.
I can't tell you how many people I've met who go, you knew Charlie, right? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, did it really happen? And
Yeah,
I'm like,
I get that.
brother,
I get that too.
Yeah. I was like the amount of phone calls I got of people screaming and crying when this was going down.
Yeah.
I'm just like, dude.
When Ian Carroll, the day after it happened, said that Israel did it, or 2 days after, I'm like,
it was literally the day after.
This is a form of real deep psychosis that needs to be addressed, because you become so vulnerable when you forget what's in front of you, and also it can be used against people. They don't let tragedies go to waste. If you don't let it go, it will get used against you.
I kind of completely stopped talking to a guy because he's like, he didn't actually die, and I'm like, I can't. I just can't.
It's like, where do you think he's at? Honest question. Like, we're here in the, you know, I will say is the weirdest thing. Luke, did you ever think that you'd be in the conspiracy theory? It's just, it's wild to have, I have bumped into people. I have people ask me, legitimately, there are people who think Charlie's still alive. And I'm like, bro, I will say this. I walk into this building. I look at these pictures. I look at the people working here. I have all the memories. Some days I wake up and my brain is telling me this can't have happened. Like, but my view of it is not that there's a deep conspiracy. My view is we have warned about the assassination culture, the violent left. This has been something that's been on our radar. I've personally dealt with attacks, death threats, security issues. I don't even know if I can't bring up some of these things, but we've had security threats at our studio. I feel like fate broke. Like the path we were supposed to be on and the future we were heading towards was shattered. So I understand that feeling like you can't believe it, but to bring it to a place where you then push theories or I call it denial. The idea that Charlie escaped on a trap door is one of these things. I'm like, guys, I give everything if that were true.
You could take all my followers, every dollar in my bank account, take it all.
I had one moment,
and for it to be true, I please do. But
sorry,
I mean, I think there always is going to be conspiracies. I mean, there's always people saying I was a part of some kind of other conspiracy.
Because you met Bernanke.
Yeah. That we did a whole bit about this back when we were still in my basement. we were like doing a conspiracy video about me and Ben Bernanke being in on it and all that. So there's always going to be conspiracies, but I think there are deranged people that have lost their minds, right? And I think we should not give those people any attention. But I do believe that there are also some very serious, legitimate questions. And the way to beat out those questions is just by asking serious questions and demanding transparency and accountability. I do believe the FBI could have done a way better job. I think there are still some things that they could do better. And I think we need to focus on making sure that this never, ever happens again. I think a lot of people genuinely are coming from a good place in their heart, who care about Charlie, who love Charlie, who didn't want to see this to happen. There are crazy people. Don't give them any attention. Don't give the fire any fuel.
I agree. I think it's fair to say that there were individuals posting on social media that indicated a foreknowledge in a larger group of people.
Exactly.
The FBI is investigating those. And Cash has even tweeted about this. I think it's absolutely fine to ask these questions. And I think it's obvious the FBI is not giving us all the information they have, so we don't know just yet. So I'll wrap that up there.
And also, the community that I run in is a bunch of investigative journalists. So I understand that if you're listening and you have espoused conspiracy theories, I understand that's your programming. That's the way you've worked.
I'm not condemning conspiracy theorists or conspiracy theories because every good journalist is a conspiracy theory. I'm saying the people out there, like you were saying, Jack, who genuinely are trying to figure out what happened and legitimately mean it, whatever ideas they may have, I'm totally okay with and I encourage.
And by the way,
it's the people who are exploiting it.
Like if people uncover something, a video, a picture, you know, Candace came up with some actual pictures that
she got a lot of information
and information that hadn't been out before, and like shout out for that, obviously.
Yeah.
And we want as much of that as possible. as much as possible of more direct information on what happened to Charlie.
As much flack as she's gotten, because people have been saying that she's insinuating Israel did it or whatever. In terms of the actual reporting, she's done one of the best jobs. But there are people who are putting out these wacky, like, there was one video that's got millions of views, and they were like, Charlie was shot from behind. Here's proof, and then they show a picture of in front of Charlie, and I'm like, guys, like, come on, man. But we are going over. So
by a secret.
We are Ian. We've gone over.
You
So
made me
we're
think
gonna wrap.
that it's also a form of delusion to try and just put it to bed.
No,
that's also another weird thing for me to have done. So I'm sorry to tell people to stop thinking about it and just to let it go.
Let's
do both.
We're over time. Let's wrap it up
Tim.
there. So, it is what it is. We try to have this conversation, but smash the like button, share the show. Thank you all so much for watching. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. We're back, of course, tomorrow morning. Mr. President, would you like to shout anything out?
Sure. You guys could follow me at Jason Scoop Comedy on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and also Donald Trump Impersonator on Instagram. And Jason Scoop on X as well.
I'm at Ian Cross, and you will find me playing the halftime Super Bowl show this coming alongside Scott Stapp.
Manifest it, bruh.
You hear the new one I wrote.
There you go. Well, Jack Posobiec, and if you want to get involved with Turning Point USA, you check out tpusa.com. If you want to find a chapter, you can find a chapter. If you want to start a chapter, you can start a chapter at tpusa.com. Also check out TP Action, and we've got and by the way, America Fest, AmFest is going on. That will be in December, so lock your tickets in now if you can. It's going to sell out. Like, it's going to sell it beyond sell out, and the interest is through beyond the roof. In fact, we may have to be expanding into like other. We're going to take over all of downtown Phoenix, basically.
Yeah,
that weekend.
I don't know what I'm supposed to say or whatever, but just the scuttlebutt is buy your ticket literally right now.
Yeah, buy it right now.
Yeah, no joke. The past few years have been amazing. James O'Keefe's parties are nuts. And there were already conversations of this being the biggest ever. Now, the scuttlebutt is you got very little time left to get a ticket.
Word to the wise.
It's going to sell out like real quick.
I'd love for you to be there, and is what it is. Don't come crying to me if
Dude, I'm not.
You were warned.
Jack's right about taking over of downtown. It's going to be the biggest ever, and the tickets are going to sell out really quick. So anyway, Luke.
Awesome. Ian, this was great. You haven't been back in a while. I haven't been back. This is like old school days. This is like, we were doing this how many years ago? Back in
5 years.
Yeah, Maryland.
Let's keep doing it.
Back when Trump wouldn't even come by.
Yeah, I know.
It's been fun. YouTube.com/We Are Change. Some people are confused by my t-shirt. It's not actually Didi. It says America Run on Blackmail. You could get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. When you do, you support me. I really appreciate that. And it was great to have this kind of reunion with you guys. I got a lot of kind of old school moments of us back in the day in that little attic that we were in that was tightly knit. So it's good being with all you guys.
The attic was fun. Charlie debated Vosh in our attic.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, what a night. That was the night I met him.
It was our studio table was actually 4 desks, 4 like Amazon desks.
Yeah. It was like the 4, like the square, yeah.
Yeah, I think Pop Culture Crisis still uses it.
It was like insanely hot up there.
They don't use it anymore?
Yeah, it's been vacant.
No. They moved it. I'm pretty sure they're still using it.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah. All right, guys. Smash the like button. Share the show. Thanks for hanging out. We're back tomorrow morning with clips at Timcast News on YouTube and Rumble and at Tim Pool on Rumble, and we'll see you all there.